Je to pre nás veľmi dôležité z toho hľadiska, že nebudeme dnes hovoriť o teoretických číslach, ale o praktických nameraných ukazovateľoch prevádzky tohto autobusu, teda spotrebe, dojazdoch, parametroch a tak ďalej. Ako viete, autobusová doprava v rámci vodíka je veľmi zaujímavý sektor, pretože vodík má miesto doprave všade tam, kde sa potrebuje previesť ťažký náklad alebo kde sa jazdí na dlhé vzdialenosti. A tieto aspekty spĺňa práve autobusová doprava, nielen mestská, o ktorej dnes hovoríme, ale aj prímestská a časom aj medzimestská. Ja som veľmi rád, že túto akciu privítali a podporili zástupcovia mesta Trnava. Tiež som rád, že sme mohli byť súčasťou medzinárodného tímu, ktorý zabezpečuje vodík, firma Messer, tímu, ktorý vlastne poskytuje autobus od firmy Caetano, ako som spomenul. Zároveň logistiku a celú tú prípravu zabezpečuje firma alebo agentúra Element Energy a tiež člen výkonnej rady Európskej Hydrogen Europe, ťažko sa to prekladá, tak preto anglicky, pán Tarikovs. A tento tím je aj tu dnes vlastne prítomný a bude mať svoje prezentácie. Dovoľte, aby som na začiatok povedal nejaké organizačné údaje o dnešnom workshope. Takže dnešný workshop, ako ste dostali materiály, bude rozdelený do takých 3 blokov. Úvodné slovo za mnou pôjde pán viceprimátor, bude mať slovo pán viceprimátor Krajčo z Trnavy. Potom tu máme špeciálneho hostia, ktorý medzi nás zavítal priamo z Bruselu. Je to výkonný riaditeľ pán Bart Bibuk, výkonný riaditeľ Clean Hydrogen Partnership. A potom tu máme medzinárodný blok prezentácií, budú 4 prezentácie. Po tomto bloku nasleduje prestávka 10-minútová a workshop uzavrie diskusný blok slovenských speakerov, vlastne speakerov tých, ktorých budú tvoriť budúce Hydrogen Valley alebo Hydrogen Hub tu v Trnave. Čiže budeme tu mať zástupcu výroby zeleného vodíka, distribúcie a aj spotreby. Tí, ktorým robí možno problémy angličtina, majú možnosť si zapožičať staničky na tlmočenie, čiže máme tu tlmočenie zo slovenčiny do angličtiny a verím, že aj opačne. A na záver workshopu bude občerstvenie, po ktorom hneď sa môžete presunúť. Na každom letáčiku je nakreslená mapa, znázorňuje lokáciu autobusu vodíkového, ktorý je vlastne pripravený pre vás, aby ste si mohli vyskúšať skúšobné jazdy práve týmto autobusom okolo historického centra Trnavy. Tá jazda trvá nejakých 15, maximálne 20 minút, čiže ten autobus sa možno otočiť do tretej, na kedy ho máme zapožičaný možno 2-3 krát, 4 krát podľa toho, aký bude záujem. Pôvodne mal úvodné slovo na tomto workshope mať štátny tajomník pán Švec, ale pred asi pol hodinou sa ospravedlnil, že bohužiaľ nemôže prísť. A to z toho dôvodu, že pán minister je momentálne na služobnej ceste a všetky jeho povinnosti preberá tento pán štátny tajomník pán Švec, takže niečo mu do toho prišlo. Bohužiaľ, možno na nejakej pri príležitosti ďalšej akcie, možno zase v Trnave, nás poctí svojou návštevou. Ja by som teda poprosil o úvodné slovo pána viceprimátora Marcela Krajča, ktorý povie, ako si predstavuje budúcnosť Trnavy v rámci mobility, aké majú plány a či tam vodík bude mať svoje miesto. Nech sa páči.
Dobrý deň, vážené dámy, vážení páni. Ja som veľmi rád, že vás môžem privítať na pôde Mestského zastupiteľstva. Tu sa stretávame, keď rozhodujeme o dôležitých veciach, ktoré sa v Trnave menia a budú meniť. A teda som aj rád, že stretávame sa práve na tomto mieste. Trnava dlhodobo sleduje moderné trendy nielen v oblasti inovácií dopravy, ale aj v oblasti verejného priestoru. Záleží nám na ekológii a akákoľvek alternatíva, či už v podobe bezemisnej dopravy, ekologickej dopravy a rôznych týchto nových technológií je pre nás prakticky posledných 8 rokov veľkou prioritou. Boli sme už pred pár rokmi sa pozrieť aj v holandskom Groningene aj práve na technológiu vodíkovú a prakticky od začiatku, jak táto technológia je v nejakej verejnej mienke, tak ju sledujeme intenzívne a som veľmi rád, že Trnava sa stáva akousi základnou baštou práve rozvoja vodíkovej energie a vodíkového pohonu aj priamo na Slovensku. Verím tomu, že takéto alternatívne spôsoby dopravy sú budúcnosťou celkovej mobility. Nielen hromadnej dopravy, ale celkovej mobility obyvateľstva. Preto by som naozaj potreboval, aby sme si okrem tých všetkých príjemných a inovatívnych vecí dokázali zodpovedať aj na otázky strategické. A jak som hovoril aj v pondelok, budem veľmi rád, ak by sme sa dozvedeli, aké máme možnosti, čo sa týka grantových zdrojov, lebo táto nová technológia so sebou prináša aj náklady, ktoré nie sú momentálne v možnostiach samospráv, aby sme dokázali túto technológiu aj prinášať do praxe tak, ako si predstavujeme. Preto je pre nás veľmi dôležité, aby sme naozaj dostali ideálne čo najjednoduchšie odpovede, ako by sme vedeli spolupracovať, či už v otázkach samotných autobusov, ale aj v oblasti celého toho manažmentu, vrátane plničiek, zeleného vodíka, ale aj samotných servisných úkonov a podobne. Toto sú všetko témy, o ktorých treba hovoriť, aby sme sa mohli posunúť ďalej. Som rád, že na to vznikol priestor a ďakujem všetkým partnerom, vďaka ktorým sa celá táto akcia mohla uskutočniť. Takže želám vám príjemný a najmä podnetný priebeh workshopu. Ďakujem.
Ďakujem pekne pánovi viceprimátorovi. Ušetrili sme veľa času, keďže príhovor bol kratší a keď pán Švec tu nebol. A o toľko viac času bude mať pán Bart Výbuk, predseda, alebo teda výkonný riaditeľ Clean Hydrogen Partnership. A poprosil by som ho na pódium. Bart, please come here. Floor is yours. And you have more time than I told you before. I prepare your presentation. Predtým ešte, ako pán Bíbuk začne prezentáciu, by som chcel poprosiť, všetci máme mikrofóny, sme v miestnosti, ktorá je vybavená audio technikou, to znamená, že po jeho prezentácii bude priestor na otázky a otázky môžete klásť priamo od zapnutia mikrofónu tlačítkom, ktoré vidíte pred sebou. Nebudem používať slajdov, keďže takéto vybavenie máme, takže všetko bude ako kedysi, real time a verím, že tých otázok bude dosť.
Fantastic.
Please.
Right. So, good morning, everybody, and great to be here. Unfortunately, I don't speak Slovak. I realize it's a quite difficult language, but still you can understand here and there a few words. But anyway, you will have to do it with English for me. I don't know why this jumps automatically, but anyway. So, today I will explain a little bit two things. First of all, it's about the results of some of our tests, all these buses that we are driving in Europe. Secondly, I will tell you a little bit about our program and then opportunities for this region also to apply. So, First, a little bit about ourselves. So we are the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. We are a public-private partnership. We have this two private partners, which is Hydrogen Europe, which is the industry, 407 members, so companies. And then we have the research community, 112 research institutes or universities. And then the public partner is the European Commission. And they are, of course, extremely important for us because they give us the cash money to fund all those beautiful projects in Europe. We have received now in our new program 1.2 billion euro, which is 1 billion euro from the Horizon Europe, and then 200 additional million euros for the hydrogen valleys, which I come to that in a minute. So the Clean Hydrogen Partnership is a continuation of the Fuel Cells and Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, for those who have ever heard about that name. But so at that time we already started to work around transport applications, energy, cross-cutting, which is about safety, and so on and so on. And we continue to do that now in the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. So we have now three main pillars. So we work on hydrogen production, on hydrogen distribution, and also at end use. There's many different kind of end use applications. I mean, in transport, heat and power, industry, and so on and so on. But also we will focus, and this is new, on hydrogen valleys, and again on cross-cutting, which is about standardization, safety, education, and so on. To realize this program, so this program will run until 2030, but the last call will be in 2027. We have 2.4 billion euro to make it happen. Jumping directly into the topic, FCBs or fuel cell buses. So what is the benefit? Why should we have a fuel cell bus? Why not a battery bus? Why not a biobus? So, well, first of all, you have a high daily range. So you can do 350 kilometers without refueling. Fantastic. So you have the operating temperature does not affect the range. You know, if it's freezing, it's okay. You have the same range more or less. That's different with other technology. Suddenly the range is half when it's freezing, or it doesn't even start. So that's one of the big benefits, and even the heat from the fuel cell system you can use to heat up your bus inside for the compartment. Also, you have a lot of flexibility. So you can drive around, the refueling time takes only 5 to 10 minutes, it's very quick. So even if there is some road work, suddenly you can make a detour, which sometimes with other technologies might be more difficult to have such a flexibility. Also, in terms of operational, well, flexibility or capacity, I would call it. So you have 10% more capacity than, for example, the battery buses, because the last two rows are occupied by batteries. And so that means you need to buy more buses to have the same capacity. In case of a fuel cell bus, it's no need. So you have your full capacity, same as a diesel bus. Of course, the big benefit, zero tailpipe emissions. Everybody is happy with that. Only water comes out. It's pure water. There's no air pollutants, no CO2 emissions. It's pure zero tailpipe. But also, and this is very important, it will help our European competitiveness. I mean, we have a lot of OEMs already now starting to work on fuel cell buses. And I would say that this is one of our strengths in Europe. If we look globally, definitely we can say that Europe is leading in this field. But of course, it's very important that our companies in Europe get an opportunity also to sell these products, because one is having a fantastic product, but if nobody is buying it, it only remains in the showrooms or in history books. So it's very important that people like you also here in the city is buying such a fuel cell buses. And then it's scalability. So the refueling infrastructure can be very easily scaled up. But also, with one refueling infrastructure, you can fill up a lot of buses. So you don't need, like for example, with other technologies, for each separate bus, a separate refueling system. So you just buy one refueling system and you can refuel all the buses. Of course, once you go to 200, 300, 1,000 buses, you can then, of course, scale up easier. Voila, this is a bit the benefits. So how did we came there? And how did we find out of all those benefits? Because we can easily, I can tell you all those benefits, but we also experienced in real projects. So we have done 8 projects already since 2010, actually 2009 already. And so we have put it in all those 8 projects, around 360 buses on the road. So we can tell you we have a lot of experience. You can see, I mean, all the different buses, different projects there. There are these 8. In the beginning, it was only 10 buses each time that we put. And then with Jive 2, we put really hundreds of buses. What we also did, in addition to all those projects, we did also some studies to see how do we commercialize fuel cell buses. You can download those studies from our website. They're all there. Also, what is the strategy, for example, for joint procurement? Because maybe everybody wants to buy 5 or 10 buses to try, but if everybody is doing that by himself, it's very expensive. So, hey guys, why don't we put it all together and buy 100 buses? We will get a better price, you see? And it's also better for the OEMs, because then they have a guaranteed production volume. And that's something really you should look at. And also the experience that we have in Jive by doing that, you can see in those studies also on our website. We organize these zero-emission bus conferences and so on and so on. A bit visualization of the buses that we put. So in CHIC we had 26 buses. So first UK, Italy, Switzerland, and then Norway. And then with the high velocity and high transit project, sorry, we added Benelux. So Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. Then we had the 3 Emotion, where we had also France, Denmark adding on. And then finally the Jive and Jive 2, where you can see also Spain came on board and Germany came on board. So, well, I think you see the same thing what I see, is that we see it's very much related to Western Europe. And so the reason why I'm here is exactly this map. Because I want to change this map. I want to see that also here in Central Eastern Europe we can see more blue spots. And so that's, I hope we can change that by doing these workshops here in Central and Eastern Europe. And I would like to thank the Jive Consortium, of course, to organize these workshops. It's really necessary, as you can see. A little bit details now. First of all, what is our aim? We would like to make a stable market for the OEMs and also for the operators, of course. So that's why we put it now 360 buses on the road. And from that, we foresee that from now on until 2025, more orders will come. And okay, this is a prognosis. Nobody knows for sure. I mean, if we have a couple of pandemics happening again, maybe things changes, of course. But we believe that we can go up to maybe 1,700 buses by 2025. And I just checked with Caetano, which is here today, and it looks it's going in the right direction. So also we have, as I said, already a couple of OEMs in Europe that are offering fuel cell buses, and you can see them all there. I will not name them, but there is a competition, and competition is good because this drives down the price. Okay, and then you can see here I mean, a little bit how fast we went to the 350 buses. About the prices. So when we started back in 2009, at that time a fuel cell bus was 1.8 million euro. Nobody wants to buy such an expensive bus. So that's why we came in, and that's why the European Union funded those projects. Otherwise it would never start, you know. And so, but through all those 8 research projects that we did, we brought down the price today to around 500 to 650,000 euro. You can see a little bit more in details there. You can see the higher price margin, the lower price margin, and the average. So you can also see that we would like to bring it down to 500,000 as soon as possible. And some orders happened already. So we're going really in the right direction. It becomes competitive with battery buses, but of course you have these additional benefits, which is also worth something. What we know that some OEMs are offering, when you order maybe 100 buses at one go, probably you can go much lower. I mean, they told me 350,000 euro. I don't know if it's still valid that way, but at least it can be even competitive or even cheaper than, for example, a battery bus. We also need to increase market and awareness. That's why I'm here. So to make sure that you are aware of this technology. And so we have, first of all, for increasing the market, we are having a project which is called Coach High Field. This is we are trying to now also put coaches on hydrogen, because now we talk mainly about city buses, but in coaches you have different challenges. You need luggage storage space and so on and so on. So we are now working on that. We are building 12 of them. We're doing workshops like today, these road shows here, and so on and so on. Also on awareness raising, we work with UITP, we do webinars, we have a very interesting website, which is fuelcellbuses.eu. Go there, you can learn many, many things there. We have a lot of data dissemination and so on. We have also some real data from operation that we can share, and what we can say is that from the ranges, definitely 350 kilometers can be reached. The fuel efficiency nowadays reaches 6 to 7 kilogram for 100 kilometers, so kilogram of hydrogen. We have driven 6.5 million kilometers already. 6.5 million kilometers. So it shows it works. Additionally, okay, in the beginning, yes, we have to be very honest. When we started in 2009, we had some technical issues, but now we see they are getting solved one by one. And what was also interesting is the lifetime of the fuel cell. We have now some of the buses shows a lifetime of 35,000 hours of fuel cell operation, and I have to say that in the beginning it was 20,000, the target, and most of the OEMs they only give a guarantee for 20,000, but we see in real life you go to 35,000 hours, and I also now see that OEMs are actually giving guarantees for more mileage than the 20,000. But I'm sure that the OEMs will talk about that later. When we look to the hydrogen refueling station, and back in 2005, you saw that availability was 89%. Now we are at 98%, so basically it always works. And the consumption we reduced from the beginning very high, 25, now to, as I said, 6 to 8 kilogram hydrogen per 100 kilometer. On the fleet data, well, you can see all, I mean, this is the distances. Now, like as I explained, we have driven a lot of kilometers already. The financing opportunities. So in terms of the hydrogen refueling station, we have a program in Europe which calls CEF, Connecting Europe Facility. So if you would like to put some hydrogen refueling stations, and maybe you can make a proposal and send it to Brussels, the next deadline is the 13th of April. Of course, you should not send a proposal for one station, and that doesn't work. So you have to combine a couple. You can combine a couple of countries together. I mean, you aggregate, and then you make a proposal of 10, 15 stations, and that works fine. And I can tell you, it will be funded. It is a good proposal. It will be funded. They are very, very easy and flexible in this. Then we started back in 2016 the Region Initiative, and this was really to boost the awareness again of hydrogen in Europe, and we are working with several regions on that, actually with 100 regions almost at that time. And that led to 3 initiatives. One was the PDA, the other one was the Hydrogen Valley Partnership of Regions, and then finally the Hydrogen Valleys itself. And the PDA, this is actually, we call it Project Development Assistance, and we know that a lot of cities, regions, they have a fantastic PowerPoint with fantastic ideas on it, but it never comes to a realization. It never comes to a first spade in the ground. So what we want to do now is to offer those cities, regions, help to bring a PowerPoint into a real project, okay? And for that we call PDA. We just launched end of last year another call for proposals. I think I know that in Slovakia there were, I think Jan, you submitted at least one proposal, which let's see, by the end of the week you will hear the result. So we are almost at the end of the week. So but we will, again, 15 regions in, and we focused actually on Central Eastern Europe. We will try to help to bring your PowerPoint into a real project by offering consultancy. Yeah? So we pay a consultant who help you as a team to develop your plans. So then we have the European Hydrogen Valleys Partnership, and these are basically regions that have a benefit for hydrogen and fuel cells. They will create jobs, it will help their growth. And I know that the picture is maybe a little bit small, but when we look to the picture, I think there's some space for Slovakia also to participate there. It looks pretty white, actually. But what I would say, I mean, why Trnava cannot join? I think I heard yesterday from the governor here that he would like to make a hydrogen valley here. We would call it a European automotive hydrogen valley. And that would be the first in Europe, and the first European automotive hydrogen valley, because we have here a lot of automotive industry that is producing cars, etc., etc. So it would make sense. So maybe as a region, you should become member of that partnership. There's a lot of benefits if you become member, because if you become member, you have direct access to the giving input where the European money should put, for what kind of projects. So I would definitely recommend Slovakia. When I heard it's not only Trnava, sorry for that, it's a bit difficult name for me to pronounce, but also Košice area has an interest to become a hydrogen valley. So why those two regions should not join this partnership? I can only recommend you. It doesn't cost you any money, so that's nice. So it just costs you time and maybe some traveling to Brussels now and then. But it is really worth, because you can steer where the money is put. And that's worth something. And then finally, we have the creation of hydrogen valleys, which is, I'll come to that in more detail later on. But this hydrogen valleys concept gets a lot of support at the highest level in the Commission. Our president, Ursula von der Leyen, I'm sure you know her. She's really a big fan of hydrogen valleys. So, a little bit on the PDA. This is the PDA that we already did. This was the first, I think it was back in 2020 somehow, that we started that. There was, you can see, many regions. We helped them indeed to make their PowerPoint into a real project. And you can see in all those PDAs that a lot of buses are there. You see Mariestad, 10 buses. You can see, I will try to pronounce it right, but Masenok or something, 12, Machok, there's 12 buses. I really have to learn a bit more Eastern European languages, apparently. So, but then also we have Russe with 10 buses. So you see really, also in Sofia, 30 trolley buses. So you really see that we help to make your case, your business case. It's mainly what we feel it's not about the technical support that you need, but it's about the financial engineering. How do you bring all those money together? How do you make a business case? How do you calculate the TCO? And that is where we give you a support really to make the case. So feel free to, for the next PDA, to apply for it. When we come to the European hydrogen valleys, well, we have identified now in Europe around 58 valleys. And you can see that also in Slovakia we have identified at least one, but I will have to update once I'm back in Brussels. Now I realize there are potential for 2, so that's very good. So we doubled already. So we have 58 valleys, 2 are quite advanced, 12 are starting to implement it, and 44 are where we have now, like for example with Košice or here, ideas. And we will help to bring those ideas into reality. You will hear very soon, probably next month, that from these 44, 9 will become yellow, because we will fund now 9 more hydrogen valleys. And I cannot elaborate more, but it's really spread well across Europe, but also we will have some hydrogen valleys in Central Eastern Europe, and that's important. What is a hydrogen valley? Well, a hydrogen valley is actually an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem where basically you put many applications together, because it's not if you put 10 buses, you say, oh, now we are in a hydrogen valley. But no, you're not a hydrogen valley, just 10 buses that you put. No, what you need to do is you need to produce your hydrogen. So there's a production there, there's a distribution, and your hydrogen should be used in various applications. Yes, buses can be one, can be train, can be aviation, can be also for cooling and heating of your houses, can for many, many purposes. So, and the idea is you build an ecosystem and you engage also your local people, local businesses, also your universities for knowledge and so on. So it's actually a whole system, an ecosystem that you build. And for that, in order to do that, you need the support of the region. So that's why we said a hydrogen valley is basically led also by the regions, with the local businesses. It's very, very important. And for that, you know, these PDAs will help you to make that case, to bring everybody together. We are funding hydrogen valleys. For example, in 2022, we have funded 2 hydrogen valleys, one small one, one big one. One was 20 million, the other, one was 25 million for the big ones, 8 million for the small ones. And that's why I said we had so many. We had 23 applications for Europe. And from those 23, we will fund, as I said, 9 of them. So fortunately, I found some more money. So that's good. Because I said to the Commission, I said, well, come on, we have 9 beautiful proposals. Why wouldn't we fund them? And they said, yeah, you're right. So let's try to do it. So I'm happy that I could manage, and so we will announce it in the next weeks. But good news, we will do it again in 2023. So on the 17th of January, we will launch our call for proposals again. And again, we will fund one big one, 20 million euro, and two small ones. But you can say, oh, it's only 3. Don't worry. I'm sure I will find more money if there are more good applications. I'm pretty sure about that. So don't worry. Please apply if you can. The deadline will be somewhere middle of April, middle to end of April. So really apply for it. Even though that maybe you're not completely ready in this region or in Košice region, still send something. Why? Because you will get feedback. You will get feedback, okay, there you need to improve, there you need to improve. And every year we will make a call for proposals for Hydrogen Valley. So, and there you can put in buses, but as I said, also many other things. So do not hesitate. It's not a loss of work. Huh? If you want to know more about Hydrogen Valleys, we have a big report out of there where everything is described. We have a website, h2v.eu, hydrogenvalley.eu. Go there. You can see here globally we have already 38 hydrogen valleys detected. So it's not something only unique to Europe. Huh? It was invented in Europe. I'm pretty proud on that. And now it was taken over by the US, by Japan, by Australia, because it's a good concept. It works. Huh? And that's why I can only recommend you to go for it. And with that, I would like to close. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bart.
And questions?
Yes. Teraz je priestor na otázky. Vaše otázky, nech sa páči. Ak máte otázky, tlačte mikrofónik, ikonku a môžete sa pýtať. Počuli sme, že okrem toho, že máme pred sebou zaujímavé projekty, že treba na nich robiť, aj keď ešte nie sú výzvy, lebo výzvy prídu, tak sú pripravené peniaze. Tak nech sa páči. Pýtajte sa. Ak nie je žiadna otázka, ja by som sa...
Do not hesitate, and there are no stupid questions. I mean, the only stupidity, if you have a question and you don't ask it, then it's stupid.
I would like to ask. Yesterday we had a nice talk with the head of the region, and he mentioned that the Trnava region is ready for hydrogen because we have here all the automotive industry and potential in transport here in Trnava. Also, we have ready some business sector for it. You mentioned a very interesting idea to prepare automotive hydrogen valley. Would you see that this hydrogen automotive valley has a good potential to reach money from the funding because it's maybe it's unique or?
Yeah, I definitely believe so. Why is that? Because what is important for a hydrogen valley is to create your narrative, a narrative which is quite unique. I show you this 58 that we have identified. I can tell you every single hydrogen valley has its own reason why they go for that. For example, North Netherlands, they stopped with the gas exploration because there's a lot of earthquakes there and the houses are collapsing. So they said, we need to do something different. And other areas, it's because there's a lot of aviation technology, or in other areas. So here, there's a lot of automotive. And I believe that automotive needs hydrogen. I mean, some people might dream, and you hear that often on social media, etc., that everything will be batteries. Well, I can tell you it will not be. It will be always a combination. Today also we have diesel, we have gasoline, we have LPG. So we also review. Why is that? Because each of those have its own advantages and also disadvantages. But that's always like that. There is not something like ideal case, you know. We try always to go to the ideal case, but every technology has pros and cons. So that will be the same in the future. We will have batteries, we will have also fuel cells and hydrogen. We might also even have biofuels and so on. So there will be a combination of technologies. So hydrogen will be there. So when we look today in Europe, and that's to answer your question, you don't see actually yet a lot of automotive moving to hydrogen. I mean, it's not like with big push or with big emphasis. I see that in other parts of the world a bit different. For example, China is really already moving now after the batteries, because why? They realize, because they have a lot of batteries already, and they realize that yes, batteries is good and they can do something, but it cannot do everything. I mean, heavy duty, for example, it cannot really cope with that. And so that's why they started now heavily also to design fuel cell and hydrogen cars. And at some point they will come to Europe. And then, if such a CEO has to decide where he will build his factory, what he will look at is, okay, which government, which or regional government is supporting hydrogen? Because there's no one who wants to build a hydrogen where he will go into a region that doesn't support hydrogen. So when you have the hydrogen valley, it will attract also automotive OEMs to invest here, but also suppliers, because the supplier base you need to build fuel cells, you need to build tanks. They also will need to be close to the factories. So you will attract a whole new business. And I believe that in this region, if you're the first, because that's always the thing, if you're the first, you have the big opportunities. Yes, you take the risks, but also you will normally get the biggest benefit of it. If you're the last one, maybe you will not get a lot of benefit. So, and in this case, you can be the first. Of course, you need to work on this because it doesn't come automatically. The red carpet is not rolled out. You have to work for it. Only roll out for kings and queens, but not for us. We have to work for this. And if you work, you make a good business plan, I believe it can work. And then if you sell that story to Europe, you will get the money. I'm 100% sure. And I think it will shake up Europe a little bit, because the first European automotive hydrogen valley, interesting. A lot of people say, what's this? What's going on over there in Slovakia? You will attract a lot of attention, and a lot of people will start writing about that. So I think only also from PR and to promote your region, it would be a very good thing.
Thank you very much for the inspiring words. I see this will be some follow-up.
There's a question there. Oh,
the question is here.
There's a...
It's interesting from the other perspective.
Pali, poprosím ťa ako druhého. Máme tu pána šéfa Trnavskej župy, ktorý sa chce prihlásiť o slovo, tak nech sa páči.
I have very short two questions. First, what do you recommend as the first steps to be successful in establish, let's say, our idea of automotive hydrogen plant? It's first one, and the second one is, what do you think about the European initiatives of just transition region to combine with the initiatives of hydrogen police? I ask because one kind of initiative we started, it's like a just transition of automotive regions, and I think that it goes through the hydrogen policy initiatives too. So what do you think about this, combining these two, if it's possible, or it's better to focus only in one, for example, building automotive hydrogen policy and try to have just transition in our region, or let's say in Slovakia, we are infected by automotive in 4 regions.
Okay. First question on how do you start? And I started already quite a lot of hydrogen valleys in Europe. And the way we always start is to work with local people. First of all, for example, with young, in this case here, or with some other people, I don't mind, who are our ears and our, let's say, hands here in the area. Okay, but we work first with governments. This is number one priority. As I said before, if you want to become a hydrogen valley and the government is not embarking on that pathway, forget it, don't start. Because you need permitting, you need support for education, you need also financial support, unfortunately, but it doesn't work always without money as well. So you need to have government. So what we do is first, we work together with the government, and we say, okay, let's go for that, yes. And then we do a workshop, where basically the government then comes forward and say, look, we would like to establish, so that's a kind of public commitment, or I mean commitment is maybe a big word, but at least a public statement, that's maybe the better word, a statement. They say, look, we as a government, we would like to make here a first automotive hydrogen valley, and we invite you, all the businesses and researchers, because you in the workshop you should invite businesses and researchers, we invite you to help us to come up with a plan. Okay, that's very important, because what businesses often lacks is like, okay, but what does the government do? The government support us, or yes or no? I mean, we don't know. See, so a very clear statement. Huh? It doesn't mean that you need to make a statement on how much money you will contribute, but it's a statement that it's your intention. We really seriously want to do this. Huh? It's very important for businesses, because then they will start to look for investments. And then what you do is we do a lot of workshops with some specialists. I know there are there are a few companies in Europe that are actually helping to build up a hydrogen valley by engaging with several actors, trying to make the puzzle, because it's something new. Businesses are not used to do that, because what you're doing is you're building a puzzle. It's like jigsaws. Every company is a jigsaw, and you need somebody to put all those jigsaws together to make a nice puzzle. And I mean, for example, the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley was one that I designed as well. And when we had all the businesses there, we had an engine. I mean, somebody was making engines, and another one was making ships and so on. And they were sitting next to each other. We're looking, I mean, what should we do? Well, I said, what should you do? You're building engines. You're building ships. Talk. I mean, we can put your engine in your ship. Oh, yeah. Maybe it's a good idea. And you see, this is what I would like to say. You try, in such a workshops, you try to connect people, and you try to build those stories, those puzzles. And it takes a couple of workshops. I mean, I can tell you from my experience, it takes about a year, 1.5 years, until you have that complete puzzle. And then somebody writes it down, and you submit your plan. And this is how you start. First, with the public endorsement of your intention as government. It will speed up the investments or the interest. It will at least trigger a lot of interest of businesses. But you should not make the mistake is that, because in the beginning you will get 100 businesses. I want to join, I want to join. Everybody wants to join. Huh? No. Then you have to kind of rationalize. You have to say, yes, that's interesting. Yes, that's it. Okay, maybe in a second stage, or a kind of being an observer, because otherwise you get lost, you know. So you need to focus also a little, and that's why you need these experts to help you. Now, on your second question, sorry, it takes a bit of time, I know.
Thank you very much.
There was a second question.
The discussion is
on the just transition. Huh? So, do you need to make a just transition only here, or do you take it on a European level? Well, I think you have to take it on a European level, because there are a lot of other companies. I mean, like, for example, Bosch is investing heavily, billions of euros in Germany on hydrogen fuel cells. We see in Sweden happening the same. So I think you should bring all those regions a little bit together. And that's why you should join, in my opinion. I mean, you do whatever you want, you know, but you could join the Hydrogen Valleys Partnership, because in that partnership, those regions that are also focusing on automotive are there. And maybe with those regions, you could make a subgroup in this partnership, and then in this Hydrogen Valleys Partnership, because there are now 56 regions, and maybe 10 of them want to work around automotive. You make your cluster there, and then you can also link it up into the Committee of the Regions. That's fine. But you make it up, because then you can design special programs for the just transition in automotive, because they are discussing directly with DG Regio. DG Regio is holding the money for the regions, or they are not, I mean, they are kind of guiding where the money should be put, together with the regions, of course. But that's where you have influence, and where you can say, okay, we need a pot of money for automotive. But you can only do that when you are a group, because they will not do it for one region. See? But you can start. You can be the leader, and you can put yourself on the map. You say, hey, we're going to do this, but we're not going to do this alone. We're going to do that with our friends in other parts in Europe. And that's where you will be successful.
Nice. Let's build a hydrogen valley here. The discussion is running, but we are running out of time. But last question from...
No, I just wanted to know a little bit. It was partially also already answered, as I'm coming from the energy industry, and maybe more discussion about the subgroup, where is the energy connected, how it is connected with the renewable resources, with other possible resources which are also available in Slovakia, as well as in Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary, etc., where there is a huge portion of those resources. So this is something where I will be really interested if something like this in hydrogen really Europe exists, and what can be the interconnection and the partnership in this area.
Is it a question or is it more a comment?
It's more the question whether there are some pillars or groups or subgroups where we can really join as an industry.
Yes, you can. So, I mean, Hydrogen Europe it actually has, of course, as I said, they have 470 companies now, but all those companies are divided in groups. So you have a group on transport, you have a group of companies on energy, or whatever. So what I would recommend you, maybe you are a member already of Hydrogen Europe or not, but if you're not, I would strongly recommend you to become a member, because by being a member you have access to that group. And what is that group doing? That group is writing the proposals. So the proposals that next week I will publish actually is coming from that group. Everything on energy, but also on the other. They have 7 groups, as I understand very well. They have now 7 working groups on a thematic basis, and one is energy for sure. And what I'm doing is in the beginning of the year, so a year before I launched the call, so I mean, we started last year to prepare the call for this year. I sent an email to Hydrogen Europe, and I say, hey, you as industry, what should I fund next year? What do you want me to fund? I mean, and then I give them like 1 month and a half, 2 months, and I can tell you they give me a lot of proposals. I mean, the industry has very good ideas, also the researchers. Some are very exotic ideas, actually. But so then we scrutinize them, but we bring them down to a number of, let's say, ideas, and then we give back to the industry. We say, okay, this idea, good ideas. Can you write now a total 6-pager with the whole topic that you would like to see funded? And you hold the pen. In those working groups, you hold the pen for what I will publish next week. And so that's why you should join Hydrogen Europe.
Thank you. Peter?
Just a small comment to this. National Hydrogen Association, Slovak National Hydrogen Association, is a member of Hydrogen Europe, and we are taking part in all those groups that are related to Slovakia. So if anyone wants to join us and will help us with this, we will be happy, because it's a lot of meetings, and we have access to all of this information and also have a possibility to influence things. So there is an energy group. We are part of the energy group, subgroup. So please contact us.
Voilà. I think you should talk. That's the purpose of this workshop.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
And now I would like to invite to the floor all the speakers, international speakers. Come please here and sit here, down. And we will continue with the international presentation. Each presentation should have 15 minutes. You can see here a timer. Please be in time. And we starting with Eva Baker.
Yes.
I hope so. I must change the presentation. At first, we can show the speakers here. So, starting with Eva Baker, then continuing with Caetano Bus, representing by Francisco Magalhães, right? Right, okay. Team Avision from Messer is next, and then the panel will close by Ivar Starikovs. So, please, Eva, floor is yours. I now change the presentation, and is it PDF? PDF.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like this, but I need to stop it. Okay.
Fantastic. Hi everyone, thank you very much for the introduction. So my name is Eva Baker. I work for Element Energy, which is a consultancy firm specialized in low carbon technologies, and we are specifically specialized in the hydrogen sector. So we, for instance, have a whole team actually dedicated to funding acquisition topic for our clients on some of the funding that Bart mentioned just before. So if you have any other questions also on those activities, please don't hesitate to talk to me. And today I will be presenting the Jive 2 Merlin early results of this project, as Element Energy has been coordinating the project since its beginning. So a bit of information, but the Jive project has already been mentioned by Bart. So you can see here the map of the different cities that are part of the project, but the big aim of the project is to deploy 300 full cell buses and 18 hydrogen refueling infrastructure. So very big numbers here. And you've got also the different objectives of the project, with one of the very important objectives that have already been met around the price. So the one having a maximum price of 650k euros for Jive and 625k euros for Jive 2, and this has been met by all the partners within the project. A bit of an update of where we are at today in the project. So currently we are in a nice stage of the project where we have most of the buses that are operational, so more than 75% that are operational now, and there is still quite a lot of time left in the project. So as you can see, 1.5 years is left in the Jive project and 2.5 years is still left in the Jive 2 project. And what's quite interesting is that we have a big diversity of OEMs within the project, but also we have single-decker buses, we have double-decker buses and fleets that goes from 5 buses to 50 buses, which is, for instance, Cologne, which is the biggest full-cell bus fleet in Europe. In terms of the station, currently there is 15 stations that are operational and more than 500,000 of hydrogen that has been dispensed. So that's also quite interesting. Currently there is 13 out of those 15 stations that are delivering green hydrogen, and the 2 that are not delivering yet green hydrogen have very recent plans to move to green hydrogen. So the aim of the project will be for all the stations to deliver green hydrogen. One last thing around the stations in the project, there is some of them, most of them, 60% that have electrolyzers on site and the others electrolyzer off site. So there's also here diversity on the type of stations. So the aim of today's presentation was to go in a little bit more detail in terms of the KPI of the project and how the early results are achieving or not those KPI. So we've got a first KPI around the distance travel. So here the objective in the project is to have a minimum of 100,000 kilometers per bus in 3 years for Jive 1 and 150,000 kilometers per bus in 3 years for Jive 2. You've got the equivalent also next to it per bus per month. And right now there is 6.5 million kilometers that have been driven, and this was as of June 2022. There is more and more buses that have entered in operation since, so it should be now a much higher number. And obviously you can see that the cumulative distance driven has very highly increased, especially in the last year. And what's pretty interesting is that this KPI is expected to be met, as there is still like 1.5 to 2.5 years left in the project, and some of the buses recently entered in operation. You can see also here on the other graph the best bus per site, and we can see already that 5 of the sites are already outperforming the objective and the other ones are very close. So that's good news and really proves that the buses are performing as expected. I think this is one of the most interesting conclusions we have from the early results is around fuel consumption. It was mentioned also by Bart. So we've got the initial objective in the project to have a consumption of a bus of lower than 9 kilograms per 100 kilometers for standard buses and lower than 14 kilograms per 100 kilometers for articulated buses. And currently in the project, the average is around 7 to 8 kilograms of hydrogen per 100 kilometers and 9 kilograms per 100 kilometers for the 18 meters. So clearly here the buses are outperforming the objectives. So that's very nice. And you can see, and this is what we're going to be showing throughout the whole presentation, the comparison between the Jive and Jive 2 project in green with the previous version of full cell bus project. So for example, the CUTE project that took place 20 years ago, that was only a few buses. Now obviously the Jive project is hundreds of buses, and you can see here a real decrease and a much better fuel efficiency than for previous project. Finally, there have been some numbers as low as 6.5 kilograms per 100 kilometers for some of the fleets that have been achieved. And it is expecting, moreover, for this number to get better, as by experience, once the tipping issues are passed, the consumption values get better. So it would be interesting to follow up on that topic, obviously. In terms of availability, currently the target is to meet 90% of availability for the bus fleet. Right now, the average availability across all drive sites is of approximately 85% in Q2 2022, because, as mentioned, some of the buses has just entered in operation, has faced some teething issues where the lower availability can be faced. So this is also expected to increase and to be met in the upcoming period. But what can already be noted is that, for example, in the red spot, you can see that some of the fleets already achieved 99% of availability. And all buses from all manufacturers have already proven their capability to surpass the 90% target at some point in the reporting period. In terms of KPIs for the stations, so this needs to be put more into context, as we have been able to gather less data in the station side than in the bus side of things. But what can already be mentioned is the availability of station. The aim of the project is to have more than 99% of availability, going to 99%. So we've been able to study 7 sites. And on the project to date, we can see that the current quarter, that is Q2 2022, compared to the project to date, there is a very positive trend of the availability increasing quite a lot. And this was because there have been some issues faced by the station at the end of 2021, and now they have been solved. So the project, once again, is expected here to meet the KPI. And you can see here that there is this positive trend. 2 last KPI around the station side of thing. So there is the speed of refueling. So there is, from the early data that have been gathered, some improvements still to be made. Once again, here it's ongoing analysis, but you can see here the refueling speed of different sites that have obviously here been anonymized. So there is still a lot of room for improvement, and you got here quite some of the reasons that explains the upcoming room for improvement. So first, as mentioned, there is some teething issues that are expected to be solved in the upcoming period. The data is early. There have been some issues between the HOS and bus communication. There is some different method utilized by the operators, and some sites, for instance, have actually chosen some lower refueling time. So we have one site that have went for overnight refueling, where here the lower speed is intentional rather than an issue. And something that has been noticed also is the modification in the tank type that has been had an impact because it needed some pre-cooling, and this wasn't expected at the beginning of the project. But yeah, this is dealt by the project and is also expected to improve in the upcoming period. Finally, an interesting KPI, that is the amount of hydrogen dispensed. So there is this objective within the project to have more than 4,500 kilograms per bus per year. So as you can see, once again, as for the buses, the quantity of kilogram of hydrogen of kilogram that has been delivered has increased a lot, particularly in the last year. And so this KPI is expected to be met because there is still 1.5 to 2.5 years left in the project. What's really interesting is that one of the reasons that this KPI is not yet met is because the bus are doing so good in terms of fuel economies that at the end of the day, the station don't need to deliver that much hydrogen than expected. So that's kind of a good news that currently they are not meeting this target. So yeah, it shouldn't be assumed that the stations are not capable, but it's more of a matter that the buses are not needing that much hydrogen than expected because they are very fuel efficient, as I've talked about before. A bit of a summary on the different KPIs. So as you can see, most of them are expected to be met. There is some of them that is still where we still need ongoing analysis. But the first conclusion is that the Jive and Jive 2 buses have the potential to outperform the project from the past. And also what's quite interesting is that it has been noted within the project that the teething period are much less than for previous projects and sometimes in existence for some sites. So that's really interesting in terms of day-to-day operation. As last slides, it was briefly mentioned by Bart also, we obviously have a lot of interesting inputs and reports from the project. So one of, I think, which is the most interesting one is the best practice report. So it's 100-page document with all the learnings from the project. So be divided in different stages that you can see here on the slide. It's available on the website. And for anyone that will want to put in place a project linked to full star buses, I would definitely recommend to go through this report because there's all the learning from the project. We've got some instance here, some of the learnings of the project. So the importance, for instance, to be part of a broad energy system, to have the right people in the project, and to be able to communicate on the project expectations. One thing about like what's next in the project, obviously we will have the last buses and H2S entering into operation. We will have more data that we'll be able to gather and more analysis with some exciting upcoming analysis around the TCO of the project buses, some destination and communication activity, and some post-JIVE full star bus sector. So for instance, this roadshow is part of those activities. So you can see here some very nice picture from the other national workshops. And the aim is to have a second and third roadshow in all the parts of Eastern Europe to stimulate the market. Okay, one last thing about ZEB 2023. This was also briefly mentioned by Bart. So the Zero Emission Bus Conference are the flagship event of the Clean Hydrogen Partnership and also the JIVE project. So you can see here some KPIs. We already have been able to secure some of the sponsors. So if there's any interest from the audience to be part as a sponsor, please don't hesitate in letting me know. We've got the partner here of this edition, and this edition we really focus on scaling up zero emission fleets, and there will also be a full day on coach and long distances. So this will be quite interesting, and you've got here the social media of the conference, and we will be putting the latest news on those social media. And that's it. Once again, you've got here the website of the full star buses, where there's a lot of interesting information, the different social media, where we put information on the project, but also on the sector. And if you have any question, don't hesitate in letting me know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eva, for the summary of the JIVE projects. We plan to have questions after the panel, but if there is one question for Eva now, please switch on the microphone. And there's no question. Is it? No? No. So maybe after. Thank you very much again. And now I would like to invite on the floor Francisco Magalhães, the representative of the Caetano bus, and he will present to us the detailed data of the bus drivings in each country where it is occurred.
Okay, the presentation. What is it?
Escape.
Yeah.
And we need to find a
Yeah. Good.
and presentation mode.
Yeah, it's okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Francisco Magalhães. I'm from Caetano Bus. I'm international sales manager of this company, and I'm pleased to be here today in Trnava to present you what is Caetano Bus, the roadmap of Caetano Bus towards the zero-emission transition of its products, and at the same time to share with you what is the future developments. So basically, as probably you have heard before about Caetano Bus moved from a traditional bodybuilder to a zero-emission OEM. Nowadays, Nowadays, Caetano Bus is no longer only a bodybuilder, but we have developed our complete products of zero-emission buses. We have started first with our battery bus, but we have also developed our fuel cell bus. So nowadays, Caetano is also a Toyota company. As you can see, the main shareholders of Caetano are Mitsui, a Japanese investment company, and also Toyota Caetano Portugal, which by itself it's shareholded by the family Salvador Caetano and for Toyota Motor Europe. Regarding what is our purpose and what is the roadmap of Caetano transition nowadays? Basically, we have stopped nearly in 2016 to develop any city buses that were not zero emission. Clearly, we have decided in 2016 that all the products that will be developing for city buses operation would be only battery bus or fuel cell bus. And you will see how this will affect our portfolio. Basically, a result of this long-term relation with Toyota, Toyota decided in 2021 to badge our vehicles, and we are carrying nowadays also the Toyota brand in front of our zero-emission vehicles. As I was mentioning before, in 2010 we have developed the first iteration of zero-emission bus. It was a battery bus developed based on our chassis platform of autobus. Caetano nowadays have two brands, the land-side brand, which is Caetano, and the airport-side brand, the air-side brand, which is CEE. You can find CEE, for example, everywhere in the world, in any airport. So clearly, like I was mentioning, in 2016, we stopped developing any more city buses that were not zero emission. And in 2019, we have presented the first fuel cell bus into the market in Belgium. And the future, as you will see, from 2021 to 2025, we expect to have a complete portfolio of fuel cell buses and zero-emission buses to present to the market. Mainly fuel cell, because the coaches that we have, we are also one of the main manufacturers, European manufacturers on coaches. One of our main customers, and we are prime contractor, is National Express, the biggest coach operator in UK. And we will be developing the coaches by 2025 and 2026 to have it available for the market for fuel cell. So here you can see more or less what is our footprint already in the world regarding the zero emission. You will find interesting that you see that we have our presence already in North America, in Europe, naturally, and we have also presence in China with our CEE. And at the same time, you can see in blue lines partnerships that we are in progress with other manufacturers. Basically, we are providing our chassis to other manufacturers in Brazil, for example, to develop a battery bus. And at the same time, we have supplied the first hydrogen bus to Australia. Here, where it comes to our footprint regarding numbers of fuel cell units operating already in Europe, you can see that we have over 70 units fuel cell operating from Caetano in Europe. These numbers will naturally increase this year. And for example, we have 17 more units for German area, and we have also in Spain, we expect to have at least 15 more units already this year in Spain. So this is a growing numbers, and also in other regions outside Europe you can see that we have 2 units in Saudi Arabia and another unit, like I mentioned before, in Australia. It's not any longer demo buses or test-proof buses. These are real operation buses with significant presence in the market, with over 1 million kilometers range already fulfilled. These are some of the technical details and some of the technical figures of our H2 City Gold. The minimum range we'll be achieving is 400 kilometers, the minimum. The maximum range, let's say that we will be around 600 kilometers. When I mention the minimum range, is basically result as considering that the vehicle is operating on an extreme cold country or extreme hot country, where the heating systems or the cooling systems are top up every day. Also, the bus is fitted with 4 tanks of hydrogen, type 4, from Hexagon, and with a total capacity of 37.5 kilos of hydrogen capacity, and with a pack of 3 batteries, LTO type, at the front, with 44 kilowatt batteries. But the stack is a Toyota stack, Generation 1 Toyota stack of 60 kilowatts, and one of the main features when we compare battery buses with hydrogen buses, the hydrogen bus is the one that is having its operation closer to what is the nowadays normal operation with gas and diesel regarding the refueling time. You can imagine the impact for an operator that must have a complete fleet of vehicles being charged at the same time, taking 3 to 4 hours, in comparison with an hydrogen bus that, like Bart was mentioning, can use the same filling station and make like a milk run process of refilling that will take, in best chances, less than 10 minutes. It's important that the infrastructure, let's say the filling station, is prepared also with the infrared system, exactly to speed up the process and control the filling process. Here you have more or less the concept of the flow of how it works, the hydrogen bus. It's a pure fuel cell stack, fuel cell bus. It's not a range extender, so basically the stack is generating all the energy that is consumed by the bus. We have a pack of batteries that are used as storage of energy that is not used by the power module to transfer for traction of the bus. And the regenerative braking system that will regenerate energy will basically send this energy also for the batteries that will help the bus to save a lot of fuel consumption. This is the architecture for you to have an idea about what is the design of the bus. This is a traditional bus, a city bus, and you will feel when you enter the bus that you are entering a normal bus. You don't have any special features. It was interesting to see Bart in his presentation mentioning that you lose seats and capacity when you move to zero emission. In this case, you don't lose. In fact, you get exactly the same capacity and even more modularity inside the vehicle and allowing a better passenger flow, exactly because we are separating the complete system of high voltage systems and fuel cell system from the passenger area. So basically you have a rear area that is smaller than the traditional diesel buses, for example, where we fit all the converters and all the high voltage supporting systems. And you have on the roof the stack at the rear. You have then the traditional air conditioning. You have the 5 tanks and the batteries at the front. This will give you a complete balance and weight distribution of the bus, and at the same time a efficient usage of the bus. As you can see, another important feature is that when you go to cold climates and to extreme hot climates, on battery buses, you struggle a lot. This is clear. Basically, the consumption varies significantly from springtime to summertime or to very extreme cold winter time. On the fuel cell, like we were mentioning before, the operating temperature ranges varies between -40 and 55 degrees. -40 you can get easily, not get -40, but very extreme cold temperatures you get easily in North Europe. Extreme hot temperatures you can easily get in Gulf regions. So clearly the low consumption of the hydrogen for the H2 City Gold is also very influenced by the optimization of regenerative solutions from the vehicle. Here you have basically the data of the stack, like the recommendable useful life for the stack is 30,000 hours. The stack, it doesn't mean that will have to be stopping working. No, it will basically start losing efficiency with time. The recommended by Toyota to replace the stack is at 30,000 hours. It will vary significantly, this 30,000 hours, depending on the type and number of hours of operation in each city in the world. But clearly it's a recommendation, and it's possible that we can experience a few more hours of operation without need to replace. Regarding the tanks of hydrogen, these are type 4, last generation tanks from Hexagon. The fueling time I mentioned before, the 9 minutes, and the lifetime of these tanks are 20 years. So basically the phenomena that you were facing, for example, on CNG buses, that you had to extend homologations, recover homologations, and so on. In this case, it's not a case, because basically you have a longer lifetime for the tanks than sometimes the vehicle itself. Regarding the batteries, they are LTO types that allows several cycles of charge and discharge. And the lifetime of these batteries is around 15 years. So this brings us to a discussion regarding the location of these systems. I have already shown what is on the roof. The hydrogen filling point on the side, left-hand side over the wheel arch, the front wheel arch, allows the direct line of refueling straight to the tanks. This will allow the issue about losing of the losses of filling. And at the same time, as you can see, the access at the rear for a CCS2 socket, this will provide you a solution that you can have, for example, as an optional, to have a preconditioning system for the bus. So basically, you can plug in the bus into a DC charger, and you will basically start warming up the bus before going to the routes without spending hydrogen. And this will give you a perspective because you'll be charging the batteries. At the same time, you'll be warming up the bus or cooling down the bus, depending on the time of the year and the location. And clearly, you will give you, let's say, an extra additional mileage because of saving of hydrogen. Also, the myth about hydrogen buses, the buses are fitted with all type of sensors and detection devices that will support in case of any event, accident and so on, that will release all the hydrogen to the atmosphere. This is what I mentioned about the filling point. And as you can see here, the access for the filling point is very easy. You can control the pressure inside the tanks through that coach. And at the same time, it's important to guarantee 99.97% of purity of the hydrogen when we are using these buses. The important thing here is the total cost of ownership that we were discussing. Normally, fuel cells are still more expensive than hydrogen, but on the other hand, you don't need any spare buses. Because if, in case of something event and you need to replace one bus on the road, you just in 10 minutes you put it back. You don't need to wait 4 hours to recharge the bus, then go to the road. At the same time, the level of investment that an operator has is quite important because all the costs of the infrastructure on battery buses remain with the operator. On the fuel cell, you can have, let's say, a conjunction system that you have the infrastructure ready for buses, ready for cars, ready for different types of operators, and all of them can use a centralized filling station. And the investment regarding the infrastructure will rely with the supplier of the hydrogen, which supports a lot the investment. You have to bear in mind that every 60 vehicles on battery buses, you need to replace, basically you need to upgrade the electrical grids available. Of course, clearly, market volume to overcome this introduction is important. But when we think about what will be the integrated strategy, like we were discussing this, we have, for example, projects with Messer where we are offering solutions like mobility as a service, where operators are having the chance to have hydrogen infrastructure vehicles all integrated in one price. And this will help out a lot the operators for this. Clearly, I'm not saying that the fuel cell will basically replace the EV, but when we think about long-range operation coaches, it will basically depend on that. And clearly, we cannot have vehicles that have a range of 600 kilometers being operated without being on fuel cell. The reason for this is that if we have electrical battery coaches, or we carry passengers, or we carry batteries, or we have the expected range. We cannot combine together. With a fuel cell, this is possible, yes. So, bringing you, again, the infrastructure I have already spoken about, and give you a perspective what will be the demand in the art of an operator for EV battery and the fuel cell. As you can see on the side, like Bart was mentioning, we just need a filling point to flow to refuel all the buses. But if we look to electrical battery buses, basically they have a dedicated charger for 4 hours that is demanding electrical grid from the electrical power from the grid, and clearly having all that space required. Some of the depots don't have this kind of space availability, for example in UK. So, give you just a perspective about the planning. So, in 2025, we'll be basically launching already the coaches and having it available. And I'll just give you quickly a perspective about what will have been the performance of this bus in Trnava. Clearly, two conclusions. This is the result of 2 days of operation. So, the sample is quite short, and naturally the consumption will be, let's say, smaller, or lower than the one that is presented here. So the bus has been consuming like 9.5 kilos per 100 kilometers. And there is another important result. The driver was driving this bus mostly probably like he was used to drive any bus. This is another training that is required for buses, for the drivers, because basically, easily, with some proper training, the driver will take 2 kilos at least to this consumption, including even cold temperatures. And this is a resume, as you see here, about the route that the bus has been done, and also the consumption that was the speed and the time that was operation. Basically, you see that the bus started operating around 4 a.m. in the morning, finished around 11:30, something like that, and restarted again at 4 a.m. next day. It's a short sample, but gives you a good perspective about the potential of these buses. And of course, it's important to bear in mind that training is really important to guarantee the operation. You do not operate this bus, fuel cell bus, like a traditional bus. And some comparisons with other countries, in Spain, in France, in Portugal. And here you can see the speed affecting the consumption also, and Germany. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francisco. Because we are out of time, we have just a question for you, maybe. If somebody's...
Hello. One question, you mentioned the 30,000 hours lifetime of the cell stack. Do you have any data about the hydrogen quality impacting this lifetime?
Yes, naturally, the hydrogen quality, if the purity is not achieved, the stack will be affected, and it will. Sorry.
If there was better hydrogen quality,
basically, that's the minimum requirement to guarantee the correct operation of the hydrogen. The better the hydrogen, it will not have a direct impact on improving the lifetime of the stack. But clearly, if we have, let's say, not complying with the purity, it will be the opposite. It will damage the stack.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Bartek?
Thank you for the presentation. I would just have a quick question. Can you show us once again the average the travel distance from the testing? I saw some numbers from Trnava and also the other cities.
Yeah, let me just go back. The numbers we have registered on the telematics system, just here. Here, that's the one I presume you're talking about. So basically, the distance that was driven was around 410 kilometers, roughly.
And that was a day or altogether?
No, 2 days.
In 2 days?
In 2 days.
Okay, thank you very much.
Because this started, as you can see here, I have collected the data from midnight on the 10th and finished it at the 24 o'clock on the 12th, basically last night.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bart?
And a quick question. On the fuel cell, what is now the guarantee mileage? Is it 30,000 that you mean? Because there is difference between what it can and what you guaranteed.
The guarantee for the stack one is still 15,000 hours. Okay. The warranty is still 15,000 hours. The lifetime design is or recommended to replacement is 30,000 hours.
Okay, I hope you will increase that.
No. It will be, because this is something that we are already working on the second generation, and these numbers will
because
naturally
this brings
increase.
me to the next question is about the warranty cost, maintenance cost. I'm not sure if you can elaborate a little bit on what are the costs for the maintenance.
For the vehicle?
Yes.
Yeah, the maintenance cost of the fuel cell is not far from what is traditional battery buses. It varies between 19 cents to 21 cents per kilometer, and 24 cents per kilometer. And clearly, we have to bear in mind when we compare fuel cell that there is a strong impact on the OPEX on battery buses, which is the replacement of the batteries by the mid of life, which is quite significant. And on the opposite, the impact of the fuel stack is quite, it's much lower than the impact of the batteries on battery bus.
Thank you. We will discuss the results also.
Can I just add one small one? The 409 kilometer here in Trvana, was that with one refuel or was that two refuels? Because I didn't.
There was some refuelings in between.
Okay.
But basically for reasons regarding the testing, also the refueling station and also the pressure available on the refueling station, as far as I know.
Yes. The last question.
Okay, I have one question. How to explain people how safe is the hydrogen bus? Because you have 5 tanks on the roof under pressure.
Yeah. I'll just try to go back a little bit. Basically, the tanks, I believe that's more or less what you are asking about. The bus is fitted with automatic fire extinguishing system, first of all. On the other hand, clearly the tanks are all fitted with hydrogen leak sensors and shock sensors. So basically, every time there is some kind of impact or some kind of incident, for example, the driver not paying attention and driving under the low bridge, any kind of contact with a tree branch or something, it will basically release, the shock sensors will detect and then release the hydrogen to the atmosphere. And everything is fitted on the roof. Basically, this is fitted close to the tanks. You see the arrows here, and what is fitted, the shock sensors and the leak sensors, both for the stack and also for the tanks, for the hydrogen tanks. So basically, to guarantee that any kind of event, this is the procedure. Okay?
I'm sure you have a lot of questions to Francisco, so you can talk with him after the workshop.
Thank you very much.
Now I would like to the floor Mr. Tim Evison from the Messer. Messer company is the company which is the distributor and producer of the hydrogen.
Okay, thank you, Jan. So indeed, I'm from Mesa. I will talk less about vehicles and more about hydrogen and infrastructure. I want to build on the presentations that you've seen already. However, we've seen from AFA that there have been huge learnings within what has been a very successful JIVE program over several years. Tremendous progress has been made regarding the practicalities of deploying hydrogen buses. We've heard from Francisco that the buses themselves are fully operational. They're ready for service. Indeed, they are already in service in larger fleets, mostly to date in Western Europe. Regarding the infrastructure, I wish to show to you that the hydrogen infrastructure is also not only ready for service, it is deployed already in larger fleets. And we've heard from Bart Bibuk that the support from the EU is available to realize projects. So my conclusion from that is that the time is right to deploy hydrogen buses in larger fleets. Just a quick summary regarding MESA. So we are the world's largest family-run specialist for gases. We have 125 years experience nearly in industrial gases. We therefore deal with not only hydrogen but also oxygen, nitrogen, argon, carbon dioxide, helium. We're used to serving very demanding customers like hospitals who rely on oxygen, like glassworks, steelworks whose processes would be interrupted in a very expensive way if the gas supply were to fail. So we're used to very demanding customers, and transport operators, cities operating bus fleets are also very similar in that clearly the supply of hydrogen to the service is crucial. And this is the sort of service that we are used to providing. If you look at where we are active around the world, our home is here in Europe. I'm from Messe Group. We're headquartered in Germany. I have colleagues here in the room from Messe Tatragas, headquartered in Bratislava. Here in Slovakia, we're the market leader for industrial gases, and we are the largest merchant supplier of hydrogen. We also, though, have significant position in Asia and in the Americas. And that's also important because there have been very substantial learnings regarding fuel cell buses in Europe, but also in Asia and in the Americas. There are very large fleets and deployments of fuel cell vehicles where also tremendous progress has been made. And we need to bring all that together when deploying fleets now in Europe. This is the hydrogen refueling station that we've presented here in Trnava. This is a unit, a system, which is perfectly capable in itself of refueling 20 buses a day, which is not insignificant. But the key point, and this was a key word that also Bob raised this morning, scalability. So by deploying a fleet at scale, you have advantages with respect to the OEM, the bus operator, but you also have significant advantages with respect to the hydrogen. So at larger scale, hydrogen can be produced perhaps on-site, avoiding logistics costs. As the scale of a system increases, so this filling system that I show here can be expanded to meet the requirements of a larger fleet. So within this system, the power pack which drives the compressor can be exchanged for a larger power pack. That means the compressor works more quickly, the throughput is higher, and a larger fleet can be served from effectively the same unit. So there are economies of scale. Economies of scale support the conclusion that with a large fleet, the costs of refilling with hydrogen can be much the same as the costs of refilling with diesel. Indeed, the full cost of operation of a large hydrogen fuel cell fleet can be much the same as the cost of operation that we're used to with diesel, but we enjoy all the other advantages associated with hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. The system shown is also capable of filling not only buses, but also indeed the Mirai, which is outside. And the system is tuned to individual vehicles, not individual vehicles, individual manufacturers. The configuration of the tanks and the piping within the vehicles is different from manufacturer to manufacturer. And optimizing the fueling process requires knowledge of that, which is why the IR connection that was mentioned by Francisco is very important. When optimizing the fueling, then indeed the fueling time can be well under 10 minutes. So indeed we've shown in a test 18 months ago that we were able to fill a sequence of 30 buses back to back in an average refueling time of 6.5 minutes. These results were presented at a global conference a year ago. Another key word, though, is reliability. Reliability is really important. So the reliability of the fuel cell buses has increased to a level where today the fuel cell buses are just as reliable as any diesel bus, no doubt about it. And equally too, the reliability has been demonstrated with the hydrogen refueling. So we've been serving fleets of vehicles in the US now for 15 years. We've completed more than 4.5 million fills of vehicles. We've been supplying fleets on a 3-shift, 24-hour-a-day basis in situations where the city or the company, in the case of material handling, are relying fully on hydrogen in order to keep their operations running. And we've shown that this is feasible, that this can be done, that indeed it's a practical solution. The deployment of hydrogen buses looks the same. It looks the same as the deployment of diesel buses. There are significant advantages that come with hydrogen buses, which are enjoyed by drivers and by passengers. For the operator, it's the same operating a fleet of fuel cell buses as indeed with diesel. The refueling times mean that within the same footprint, a site can switch from diesel to hydrogen with no problem. There are advantages to incorporating the fleet in the overall management of the hydrogen supply system, because the fleet contains within it, of course, storage, hydrogen storage. And there are, in order to optimize the costs of the hydrogen, the management of that storage is an important feature. So we are very keen to incorporate the storage on the buses within the management of the hydrogen supply to the vehicles. And that allows us both to maximize, increase reliability, to minimize cost, and ensure that the fleet goes out every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. This is an example of a facility which we have switched to hydrogen at the end of last year. This is a transit company in California. They'd done an exercise to evaluate for themselves the benefits of battery buses, fuel cell buses, and had identified that the fuel cell bus was the most cost effective. And a system has been installed for an initial fleet of 33 buses, but there are firm plans to complete the transition of the fleet, with stage 2 being an additional 70 buses, and then stage 3 with a further 70 buses. And why is this important? Because this sort of scale is the point at which you start to see that the overall cost of deployment for a hydrogen bus fleet can be the same as diesel. When operating a small demonstration with just a few vehicles, then almost inevitably the costs for that service will be higher than people have been used to with diesel. And they may also as well be higher than people find with battery. But as you increase the scale, you get the scale effects that I've spoken about with hydrogen, which you don't get with battery. And obviously, as we see, if we keep operating diesel, then we will only ever get higher costs with diesel. Not only because we will be paying for the emissions associated with the consumption of diesel. So we have let's say, a natural point at which these curves cross, and we suggest that the curves cross at around 33, 35, maybe 40 buses, somewhere around there. That's the point from which you can start to see that the economics of fuel cell buses are such that you can switch to fuel cell buses not because you're a climate activist and want to save the planet. You can do so for hard-headed business reasons that the costs are the same, my drivers prefer it, my passengers prefer it, and it's better for my city. The scale that we have established at the Foothill Transit Company is around 600, 700 kilos of hydrogen a day. This is the BMW facility in Spartanburg in South Carolina. Their requirements for hydrogen to feed their fleet of material handling vehicles is around 1.5 ton of hydrogen per day. This is a service that we have been providing to them now for more than 10 years. Their demand has increased in that time. Last year, we added a second pumping station to meet the requirements of around 600 forklift trucks that are distributed across the facility and fed through 26 filling dispensers. So, scale is important. Renewable is also, of course, important. What we're seeing in California is that more and more of the transit operators are identifying that they have an advantage with fuel cell buses. They're seeing that partly for economics, as I've already described, that as their fleets get bigger, they get advantages arising, and as their aspirations for a zero emissions fleet gets larger, they get advantages for fuel cell buses. But it's also in order to be renewable. So when operating, this is a chart showing the contribution to the grid in California from renewables, from natural gas, from other sources. And of course in California the renewables are dominated by solar, and naturally therefore you have a large peak of electricity from renewables during the day, and at night you tend to have then more generation from natural gas. When operating a battery electric bus, you don't really have choice about when you recharge. When operating a hydrogen system, you have choice. You have flexibility. And that means we can optimize cost, because we can operate the hydrogen production system when the renewables are available. We can therefore use renewable power, which is cheap, and we can avoid the use of grey power, which is tendentially more expensive. When we put all these things together, we come to the concept which Francisco has also mentioned, namely the passenger transport as a service, or the one-stop shop. This is a concept where we are prepared to stand behind the whole package of technology and service that we provide in terms of a bus fleet, hydrogen production, hydrogen storage and filling, and also the financing of that operation, and to provide this package to an operator on a per kilometer basis, enabling perhaps the advantages of scale to be achieved more quickly. So just in summary, the statement from the beginning, namely that the time for deployment of fuel cell buses at scale is now. It's possible, it can be done, and I think in Eastern Europe we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Some question to team? For team? Oh, maybe after. There is one question. Okay. Come back, please.
What is the average selling price now for hydrogen?
Yeah, okay. So the market for hydrogen today, of course, is dominated by grey hydrogen. And grey hydrogen comes from natural gas, and natural gas is 10 times more expensive, or has been until very recently, 10 times more expensive than it was 2 years ago. So almost inevitably, hydrogen prices have been higher. The fact is, though, that the cost of renewable energy has been falling in recent decades. Yeah? And in 2021, for the first time, renewable energy, that's solar and onshore wind, they both became the cheapest sources of power. And that's why you're seeing an acceleration in investment in renewables in not only Europe but also in China, in the US, because if you're going to invest in power generation, the most economic route is through renewables. And with the production of renewable hydrogen, you have the opportunity directly to take advantage of that. So we are developing projects now in Germany, in Spain, in the Americas, where the production of renewable hydrogen directly from renewables will allow for costs for the complete operation of a bus fleet, which, as I say, are equivalent to diesel. That's what we can do. And that really comes from the benefit of the low cost of renewables.
Thank you. Part one question.
I just want to add a few numbers because to be more concrete. No? So we have indeed, as you explained, if you disconnected from the grid and you have, for example, a solar panel and then you produce hydrogen and you put it in a bus. We have one of a project. I mean, it's not a part of Jive project, but it's another project. We come to around 8.5 euro per kilogram for your hydrogen, yeah. And this is directly connected to a independent solar plant, solar panel plant. When you connect today with today's prices, for example, to the gas grid or from other kind of hydrogen which is connected, for example, hydrogen which is produced from electricity that is connected to the electricity grid, it's extremely expensive. I see prices 17, 25 euro. It's because of the electricity prices so expensive. So if we go before the whole war issue, like go back to 2021 or something, normally the prices that I saw was around 9.5, 9.9. And so what I see in the southern part of Europe, because the renewables are a bit cheaper, we go to 8.5. I think these are really realistic numbers today to count with. Yes, we have this war and the impact and so on, but maybe let's ignore a little bit at this point in time when you make your business case, because it will become, I mean, things will normalize again. I mean, for sure. Let's all hope at least. So, but then calculate maybe with ideas of an independent one, so you're not depending on the electricity grid, and that works much better for your TCO. That's my experience, what we see in projects. So, yeah, these are the bit of variables.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again. So now, yes, please. Now we finish our blog with a presentation from Aivars Stavrikos, the member of the board of the Hydrogen Europe, and also the boss of the Latvian Hydrogen Association.
Yes, thanks for introduction. I have a privilege and disadvantage. I'm the last one. Most of the things were said, so therefore be prepared for voting, because there is voting machine. But anyway, I would like to be as short as possible because most of the messages was already given. Maybe just to summarize everything, because every presentation has a very good points, what makes a sense at the end why we are here. Yes, because First, as Bart started, basically, yes, I'm coming from industry, I'm the board member, so I'm presenting quite big family of industry members. But in their family is very significant role for national hydrogen associations. And I would say, yes, it makes sense to deal with Brussels, but first of all, please work with local guys, because they are our ambassadors here. They are the ones who knows the ways how to talk with BART, how to talk with Commission. Therefore, that would be the maybe first highlight, what absolutely makes sense, because we have a package, more than 1,000 R&D projects, demonstration projects already demonstrated somewhere. As you see also with Jive, 300 buses on the roads. Okay, today it's a situation even around 600 buses. So, the quantities are huge. The lessons has been learned. We had passed through a lot of painful lessons, the good decisions, bad decisions, but anyway, all this history and track records, they are collected. You can just read, you can ask the questions. So therefore, that would be maybe the first thing. I will not touch that because you have shown this nice diagram. But what it makes sense in case of hydrogen, the sectoral integration. The different segments how can work together. And this is the key, maybe just a reminder, nice diagram, but all this as a valley or value chain. This is weird today. We are talking about different things, value chain, hydrogen valleys, whatever. At the end, there is a very simple question. Can Ternava city benefit from that? And I would say that would be, in my opinion, that would be priority for me to give a couple of samples where I would like to lead you, and then afterwards give a privilege to Jan to announce some good things. But there is a lessons learned. R&D has been done. Europe is supporting especially R&D. So we are in good position, we are in good shape. Now it's time to make it in market rollouts. Reasonable to mention, but I found this report that was done 2 years ago by Commission. And Commission is clearly saying Slovakia can be self-sustainable from energy point of view. This means basically one thing is your energy balance and what you are consuming, but you can export almost the same quantity of energy abroad. Germany is screaming, we need renewables. France is, so this is also one of the chances what needs to be done and assessed on regional level, because regional government is the one who can trigger that kind of initiatives. So, just to summarizing, R&D has been done, has been spent billions in that. Therefore, Europe is pushing, okay, we need to repower Europe. But how to do that? And the combination of the past projects, today's policies, and then imagination of you as doers, that would be the key. Basically, we should figure it out how to combine different money sources. There was a question about, can we combine different monies? Just transition fund, modernization fund. Yes. Answer is yes, you can blend them. You can blend, the key answer is, you cannot finance one activity from two sources, but activity means refueling station is activity 1, renewable generation activity 2, hydrogen production activity 3, bus fleet activity 4. Just a smart Lego game, and you can have a project value chain which can be funded from different sources and combined, so to speak, to benefit. Therefore, where are those sources? We are laughing that there is a lot of kingdoms in the Brussels, different DGs, general directorates. It's like a jungle. Therefore, please do not hesitate. Come over to us. We would like to help you, to guide you through those jungles. But the point is, Horizon Europe, Connecting Europe facilities, ERDF funds, Innovation Fund, Just Transition Fund, Modernization. There is a lot of money which can be available for regions. Yes, of course, region, as Bart mentioned, region need to be one who will come up with announcement, but with right announcement, not promise exactly, I will allocate 100 buses. No, you need to push for local industry to come up around the table. So this is the point, just to initiate, because then you can attract local utility companies and say, hey guys, okay, you can have a direct power purchase agreement with local Messer or maybe Orlen guys. They will produce hydrogen. They will deploy a refueling station, and then public transport operator at the end, he will have this benefit, as Francisco explained, based on kilometer cost. Removing from you the financial obligations of, because this is the point, yes, fuel cell bus is double expensive as diesel. How to finance that? There is another answer. There is also European Investment Bank, which is very keen to support you with the money. Just different stages, different sizes of the projects where you can go for different support. And what we are encouraging you, there is no stupid questions. Sometimes there is stupid answers, but that would be ridiculous not to use those opportunities. And the beauty of today is that one thing, yes, of course, regions and cities, I would say today are like not the kings, but close to them. Governments sometimes lacking this support and explanation. Therefore, do not hesitate. Come over. Let's combine all that, what can be reasonable to use. We would like to help you to steer through those jungles, because Horizon Europe, different joint undertakings and all that. But the most important message, that there is a money which can be used for your projects to find the benefits here. And finally, I would like to end, where is the key? Because business as usual do not works. Up till today was quite strong industry, sales guys of the buses, refueling stations, classical way. It doesn't work anymore. Basically, we have a need for new business models. There is a need for utility companies, generation companies like solar power plants, wind farm parks, to come, sit down together with experienced industry who know how to produce hydrogen, how to handle it, how to build a refueling station, and then at scale effect you can achieve this economy. At the end, operator will just say, okay guys, yes, I'm ready, but I will not pay any euro cent more as I'm paying today for diesel. And during the correct preparation work, what is exactly back to the basics as I started, therefore this local coordination is key. We need to start to coordinated way do the preparation jobs. Simple calculations, simply finding out where is the benefits. And the banks are ready. Even European Investment Bank have an internal grant program. So, guys, let's use those chances. And the point is, if operator will not be obliged to spend 400,000 per bus, but he will just get obligation for 10 years or 12 years to pay same as diesel or maybe even less, he will be happy, because then the money is free here to continue the work. The industry can provide such kind of projects. Therefore, thank you a lot. I think you had a lot of different angle messages. The point is, now is time for changes. And I would like to insist that please do not hesitate. Therefore, you have a Slovak Hydrogen Association. They are very well linked with us, with the industry, with the Brussels bubble and the financial world. So we would like to help you to find a way how to finance those different value chains and how to make it financially viable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivars. I hope you will have a lot of questions from the audience, from the future project managers. But the first question is, time is now for first question. So please raise the hand or switch on the microphone. If not, maybe personally.
Too good or too bad?
Maybe personally, during the coffee break, which is now starting, and we have 10 minutes for coffee break, and we will see here in the Slovak panel block, discussion block, with the Slovak representative of hydrogen value chain here in Trnava. Thank you very much, all the international speakers. And I'm happy you are here. because you inspiring all the stuff here. And we would like to see not only demonstration projects, but a real scale-up project. Thank you very much.
Dobre, tak začneme druhú časť nášho workshopu. Najprv sa predstavím, moje meno je Peter Hegeduš, som členom výkonného výboru Národnej vodíkovej asociácie a v podstate tak spolu s Janom Vajteršucom to ťaháme už spolu nejaké 3-4 roky. V tejto druhej časti budeme mať moderovanú diskusiu, ktorá by sa mala teda týkať témy perspektívy rozvoja vodíkovej dopravy v Trnave. A pre túto moderovanú diskusiu si dovolím požiadať aj prísť sem a predstaviť vám speakerov. Prvým je Juraj Petrovič, manažer predaja spoločnosti Messer Tatragas. Ďalej je to pán Peter Nemec, generálny riaditeľ Arriva Trnava. Ďalej je to pán Peter Hájk, výkonný riaditeľ M-Park. A posledným diskutujúcim bude pán Pavol Pleva, riaditeľ divízie OZE v spoločnosti YES Slovensko. Na úvod možno by som začal tým, že by sme zozdielali tie výsledky, ktoré boli namerané z prevádzky vodíkového autobusu tu v Trnave, lebo v tej prezentácii síce boli uvedené, ale boli tam tak relatívne krátko, tak aby sme si aj o nich mohli niečo povedať. A potom vlastne k tomu budeme aj diskutovať ďalej, takže aby sme ich mali stále na očiach. Toto chcem. Hej, ten posledné slajdy. Ospravedlňujem sa za túto technikáliu, ale nie som nadšenec Apple. Takže niekedy s tým bojujem. Tu máme Španielsko, tu máme Slovensko. Takže možno len krátke ešte oživenie tých čísel, ktoré tu sú. Celkovo sa teda prešlo takmer viac ako 400 kilometrov. Ten čas, nie sú to úplne 2 dni, je to 2 a niečo dňa, pretože čas toho pondelka sme mali demo jazdy, takže je to trošku viac ako 2 dni v prevádzke. Na linke číslo 16 tu v Trnave. A čo je tu možno dôležité povedať, že my sme videli aj takú trošku inú, ešte hlbšiu analýzu týchto čísiel a z tej spotreby 9,5 alebo 9,6 kg na 100 km, ktorá sa zdá byť trošku vyššia, bol samotný pohon zhruba polka, alebo trošku väčšia ako polka, takže cez 5 kg a zbytok bol použitý hlavne na kúrenie v tom autobuse. To znamená, že pri nejakých iných teplotách, hlavne ranných, kedy sa ten autobus štartuje, tak tá spotreba samozrejme môže klesnúť. A potom druhý, a to je asi veľmi významný prvok, je ten tréning vodičov, aby využívali oveľa častejšie rekuperáciu, aby oveľa častejšie využívali plachtenie a proste nejakým iným spôsobom operovali ten autobus. To sa nedá naučiť za jeden deň, samozrejme k tomu treba čas. To nie je výtka voči vodičom autobusov, práve že im veľmi pekne ďakujeme, že sa toho zhostili. Ale je to skôr vec, ktorú treba natrénovať. Ja by som aj týmto vlastne ukončil ten môj vstup a možno sa opýtal, aby sa aj jednotliví speakery predstavili, tak im dám takú jednoduchú otázku, že aby nám priblížili ich záujmy, ich projekt v rámci Trnavského regiónu, čo môžu ponúknuť v rámci vodíkovej mobility alebo vodíkovej dopravy, alebo čo pripravujú a čo môžeme od nich očakávať. Že pán Petrovič, poprosím vás.
Ďakujem pekne. No, my sme sa v rámci tejto roadshow vlastne zúčastnili najmä teda ako partner vo všetkých krajinách, ako dodávateľ vodíka a teda ten, kto zabezpečoval plnenie toho autobusu. Tu už bolo spomenuté, že tých plnení bolo viac. Ono to bolo dané tým, že v podstate tá vodíková čerpacia stanica, ktorá bola predstavená a stojí ešte teraz aj v centre mesta, nebolo možné ju sprevádzkovať. Ona je prevádzky schopná samozrejme, ale jediný problém je slovenská legislatíva, ktorá také niečo neumožňuje v tak krátkom čase zrealizovať. To znamená, že bolo potrebné využiť náhradné riešenie. My sme v podstate postavili rovnaký panel, ale na vyšší tlak, ako máme v Slovnafte, kde je teda jediná momentálne ešte zatiaľ na Slovensku verejná plniaca stanica na vodík. Takže rovnaký panel je vlastne inštalovaný tutou kolegou v M-Parku, kde sa ten vodík plnil. Čiže to bola tá hlavná časť našej nejakej účasti a dodávky samozrejme toho vodíka, ktorý bol dovezený normálne batériou v voze. Čo sa týka budúcnosti, myslím si, že tam kolega Tim Evison povedal veľmi jasne, že my máme jasný koncept, čo sa týka one-stop shop. Takisto samozrejme pripravujeme, alebo sme pripravení dodávať aj elektrolízy pre priemysel, pretože samozrejme ten záujem o vodík nie je len v doprave a dôležitá je naozaj dekarbonizácia priemyslu. To znamená, že spolupracujeme s renovovanými výrobcami elektrolíz v závislosti od ich veľkosti. Sú to rôzne spoločnosti a sme v podstate schopní v tomto smere dodať čokoľvek, o čo bude záujem. Pretože 30 rokov dodávame vodík na Slovensku priemyselným zákazníkom. Máme s tým skúsenosti, máme flotilu vozidiel, ktorými ho rozvážame po Slovensku. To znamená, že sme v tomto smere, dovolím si tvrdiť, jedni z expertov, ktorí vedia, ako s vodíkom narábať. Vrátane bezpečnosti, vrátane všetkých ostatných záležitostí, ktoré s tým súvisia. Ďakujem. Na začiatok stačí.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne. Ja možno len pripomeniem, nebudeme mať prezentácie, bude to len diskusia. A to z toho teda vyplýva, že keď to má byť diskusia, tak kedykoľvek máte akúkoľvek otázku, prosím, prihláste sa a môžeme diskutovať. Ja by som teraz dal slovo pánovi Nemcovi, ktorý by nám tiež mohol priblížiť, aké majú záujmy alebo aké projekty do budúcnosti pripravujú s využitím vodíkovej dopravy, alebo nad čím uvažuje Arriva, či už v Trnave, alebo možno aj celoslovenský z hľadiska vodíkovej dopravy.
Dobrý deň, takže ďakujem za slovo. Ja to poviem nielen v rámci Slovenska, hovoril som to aj na tlačovej konferencii, že my sme súčasťou Arrivy, ktorá sídli v Anglicku a práve naši kolegovia spúšťajú v prvom štvrťroku tohto roku projekt vodíkových autobusov v Liverpoole, kde je 20 vozidiel a projekt vodíkových autobusov v Holandsku, kde bude 10 vodíkových autobusov zase, čo sa týka Solaris. Čiže naši kolegovia z Arriv už sú trošku ďalej a už reálne spúšťajú tieto vodíkové autobusy do prevádzky. Čo sa týka možno Arrivy Trnava, ja osobne som teda veľký podporovateľ vodíkových vozidiel a vidím ich o mnoho väčší budúcnosť ako v elektrických vozidlách. My máme v súčasnosti, a je to trošku podobné, v mestskej doprave plynové autobusy na CNG, ktoré už pomaličky bude končiť ich životnosť a budeme riešiť ich výmenu v najbližšom období. Pozeráme samozrejme na vodíkové vozidlá. Vieme, že v M-Parku by mala vzniknúť čerpacia vodíková stanica, ktorá sa dá využiť, je to 4 km od nás. Na druhej strane, videli ste to aj v prezentáciách, vidíme jednak, že autobusy sú drahšie, ale aj prevádzka je drahšia. My sme tu počuli, my v kalkuláciách, ktoré rátame, sme rátali s cenou vodíka 10 eur na kilogram. My sme sa už analyzovali európske projekty, ktoré umožňujú financovanie autobusov, ale aj prevádzky, čiže nielen nákup, ale aj prevádzku autobusov a majú túto štruktúru v pomere 60:40, čiže 60% dáva Európska únia a 40% je vlastne z vlastných zdrojov. Podľa našich výpočtov sa vtedy dostávame na úroveň dieselových autobusov, čo je fajn, lebo vtedy je ten príspevok ekológii veľmi dobrý. Čiže poviem to tak, že bez cudzích európskych zdrojov, či už najlepšie európskych, aby to nemuselo ísť z plánu obnovy, vodíkové autobusy alebo vodíková doprava sa nerozbehne. Bereme to tak, že je to nová technológia. Mám informácie od našich vodičov, ktorí boli s vozidlom veľmi spokojní, tichý, bezproblémový, v zásade jak elektro vozidlo. Čo sa týka, my sme si požiadali aj o informácie od kolegov v rámci celej Európy, v rámci údržby, lebo to je tiež jedna z otázok, ako vyzerá údržba. Podľa tých predbežných skúseností to vyzerá, že to bude na úrovni štandardného dieselového autobusu, čiže tam nie sú žiadne vyššie náklady. A predpokladáme, lebo táto technológia je ešte v plienkach, že cena autobusov sa postupne bude znižovať a dúfame, že s rozvojom vodíkových systémov sa bude znižovať aj cena vyrobeného vodíka.
Ďakujem. Ja by som teraz možno poprosil pána Hájka, aby nám priblížil, čo M-Park pripravuje v rámci vodíkovej dopravy a aké sú jeho záujmy.
Dobrý deň. V prvom rade ďakujeme za pozvanie, lebo sme malý subjekt, ale vykonávame určitú praktickú činnosť a mali by sme byť prví tí, ktorí na Slovensku otvoria teda vodíkovú stanicu. Skrátke predstavím M-Park. M-Park je miesto, je to hub, ktorý poskytuje sídlo dopravcom, dopravným spoločnostiam, nákladnej doprave, autobusovej doprave a poskytujeme dnes služby klasického paliva, servisu, umývárky, parkoviska. A prečo sme sa rozhodli teda ísť do toho projektu vodíka? Pretože patríme do jednotnej centrálnej európskej politiky a ľudia sa nás pýtajú, prečo sa zúčastňujeme týchto seminárov a prečo sme členom vodíkovej asociácie. Tak vieme, že jedného dňa príde čas, keď budeme musieť ako subjekt podnikateľský zdieľať štatistiky, koľko vytvárame emisí. A z tej štatistiky vyplyne to, že musíme zaplatiť nejaké poplatky alebo pokuty. Takže v tom strednodobom horizonte, možno 2, 3, 5 rokov, príde k tomu, že nie len objednávateľia veľkých medzinárodných preprav, ako sú Volkswagen a veľké teda medzinárodné priemyselné podniky, ale budú to aj slovenské podniky, ktoré budú musieť platiť pri objednaní prepravy za emisie vytvorené pri preprave ich produktov. A keďže tá doba sa blíži a určite nebude trvať väčší konflikt na Ukrajine a jednoducho sa skonsolidujú ceny energií, tak chceme byť pripravení na to, že ten dopyt po alternatívnych palivách bude zo strany dopravcov aj zo strany priemyslu, to znamená objednávateľov preprav. A vznikne tu otázka, kde je infraštruktúra. Takže my chceme byť s našimi partnermi súčasťou tých základných myšlienok alebo tých projektov a podporných programov, kedy by sme spolu možno vedeli vytvoriť už teraz konkrétne projekty a vytvoriť infraštruktúru pre tých, ktorí budú budúcimi odberateľmi. Tak ako je to Arriva, to budú aj iné dopravné spoločnosti, nákladné. Vodík vieme, že bude v ťažkej medzinárodnej preprave na dlhé vzdialenosti. Je tu predpoklad, že to budú silní dodávateľia pre priemysel, ktorý je tu sústredený v Trnave. Trnava mimochodom patrí je 9. najviac priemyselným krajom v Európe. Máme tu hodne veľa firiem automotív, ale okrem automotív sú tu iné priemyselné podniky, ktoré budú patriť pod povinnú štatistiku a povinné platenie emisných kvót. Takže jednoducho chceme tu byť, chce byť M-Park v mape u všetkých flotilových našich kartových partnerov, ako sú DKV a S24 a chceme byť miestom, hubom, kde tie firmy jednoducho môžu natankovať vodík. Pritom vieme, že výroba alebo teda predaj samotného vodíka do dopravy je nerentabilný. Teraz sme to spolu s kolegom rátali, že dneska aj pri budúcej cene elektriky pre rok 2024, ktorá sa odhaduje mohla by byť okolo 90 eur za megawatt. Dostávame sa na cenu 180, 170 až 170 za kilometr, čo v porovnaní do 30 pri diesli je nerentabilná vec. Ale chcem povzbudiť všetkých nás, aby sme nedržali sa aktuálnej situácie, pretože predpokladáme, že tieto ceny energií nebudú dlhodobo sa držať na tejto vysokej úrovni a musíme presne, ako bolo povedané niekoľkokrát, nájsť zdroje, aby sme vedeli ceny znížiť na porovnateľnú cenu. Pretože my máme x zákazníkov v doprave a pýtajú sa, prečo robíte vodík. Veď my nebudeme kupovať vodík za tú cenu, aby sme sa dostali na 180 eur za 100 kilometrov, my chceme byť do 30. Ak tu máme byť, tak potrebujeme hlavne strategických partnerov. A je obrovská snaha za 4 roky, ktorú Peťo Hegeduš a teda Jano Vajteršúc urobili a dokázali zorganizovať toto stretnutie, aby sa vymenili informácie, pretože strategický úspech a úspešne fungujúce podniky, tak ako by sme mali byť my, aby mali úspech biznisový, nie len to, že to budeme mať, ale chceme na tom zarábať, tak predpokladom toho je to, aby to podporili všetky komunity. A Trnava, len doplním na záver, Trnava je naozaj to miesto, kde by to Valley, alebo to Silicon Valley, alebo tá Hydrogen Valley mohlo naozaj vzniknúť, pretože jednak sme 9. najviac priemyselne rozvinutý kraj v Európe. Máme tu výrobu zeleného vodíka na dosah, pretože tu partner z JESu, pán Pleva, vysvetlí, JES postaví do budúceho roka 20 alebo 30 MW, Pali, opravíš ma, solárnu elektráreň, z ktorej by sme mali byť zásobovaní my v Trnave s elektrikou a v tom 1 MW elektrolízeri by sme mali ročne vyrobiť okolo 400, možno 450 tón vodíka, ktorý by sme chceli umiestniť samozrejme v prvom kole verejnému sektoru, ktorý nám dáva garanciu, preto je veľmi dôležitá tá spolupráca súkromný verejný sektor, a v druhom kroku tým ostatným dopravným spoločnosťam. V príklade Amazon, Sereď, kde sa v podstate sústredujú vratky tovarov z celej Európy a last mile dovoz by sa mohol realizovať takisto prostredníctvom vodíkových kamionov. Toto je naša vízia, toto je náš cieľ a potrebujeme k tomu silných strategických partnerov, preto je fajn, že sme sa takto stretli a vymieňame si tie informácie. Takže veľmi pekne ďakujem ešte raz organizátorom a myslím, že bude potrebné, aby sme začali pracovať a nie len, ako povedal Bart včera aj pri večeri a dnes, aby sme len ukazovali prezentácie, ale naozaj, aby sa všetci účastní, ktorí sme v tých strategických partneri stretávali a dlhodobo pracovali na tom. Zatiaľ. Ďakujem.
Ďakujem. Tak my veľmi radi počujeme, že biznis sektor sa už do toho púšťa a bol tu spomenutý Pálo Pleva, takže poprosím aj jeho, aby teda predstavil ten projekt JESu, ktorý je tuto v regióne a že o čom je a aké sú ich plány.
Pekný deň, s tým som ešte nemal možnosť sa zvítať. Moje meno je teda Pálo Pleva, ale predstavím najmä našu spoločnosť. Sme jadrová energetická spoločnosť Slovenska, znie to tak zvláštne, čo robíme vo vodíku. Vo vodíku ideme robiť veľa. Budeme mať prvú teda výrobňu vodíka zeleného na Slovensku. K tomu sme sa zaviazali, na to sme sa vlastne odhodlali pred cca 2 rokmi. Je to tu veľakrát spomínané o spolupráci. Spolupracujeme s Emparkom, rozhodli sme sa a teda ako spoločnosť, sme spoločnosť, ktorá má jeden základný a najväčší cieľ a to je postavenie nového jadrového zdroja tuto blízko Trnavy, ktorý bude v podstate náhradou jadrových zdrojov, ktoré postupne budú vyraďované. Je to nejaký dlhodobý proces. A v podstate cieľom toho je ako keby vybudovať nový teda jadrový zdroj, aby pre Slovensku existovala elektrina, ktorá sa bude dodávať tak, ako je v dnešnej dobe. Je to veľmi dlhodobý proces, trvá to 15 rokov a tak ďalej. Pri tejto príležitosti sme sa rozhodli, že budeme sa pozerať aj po ďalších možnostiach, ktoré v energetike sú. Sú to obnoviteľné zdroje a s nimi teda prišiel aj do tejto fázy ako keby vodík, ktorý má významné zastúpenie v energetike, kde slúži hlavne na bilancovanie a vyrovnávanie sústavy a v podstate celej prenosovej časti. Čiže náš projekt je o tom, že na brownfielde, čo je vlastne bývalé vyhorená elektráreň, ktorá bola v 80. rokoch aj zlikvidovaná v priebehu 90. rokov v Jaslovských Bohuniciach, sa postaví 10 MW fotovoltaika, ktorá bude slúžiť na to, že bude dodávať elektrínu do Emparku V M-parku staváme elektrolyzer. Celý tento projekt je pod projektom NFT, kde sme teda veľmi radi, že nás podporila Slovenská inovačná energetická agentúra v tomto projekte. A výsledkom toho bude, že budeme vyrábať teda presne tak, ako to bolo definované, 450 kg vodíka. Je tá kapacita, ktorá by mohla byť dennej produkcie zeleného vodíka na Slovensku. A tento vodík chceme posúvať ďalej, najmä v oblasti dopravy. Prečo v oblasti dopravy? Jednak to vychádza z nejakých strategických náležitostí a dokumentov Slovenskej republiky, kde sa rozhodla v tejto oblasti ako keby to podporiť. Druhý bod je, že sme podpísali memorandum s Vyšším územnosprávnym celkom v Trnave, ktorý má záujem odoberať tento vodík a v podstate použiť ho v rámci verejnej dopravy. Je to tu o veľa partnerstvách a o tom, ako sa vlastne rozvíjať. My sme s M-parkom a dlhodobo komunikujeme, rokujeme o tých možnostiach. Na druhej strane, ja to poviem aj inak, Anvas nás inšpiroval, posunul nás. Boli sme vo Föstalpine v Linci, kde sme videli elektrolyzer, videli sme, ako sa to robí. Na základe toho sme začali tu s lokálnymi úradmi spolupracovať a hľadať spôsob, ako vieme urobiť celé to povolovacie procesy. Je to významne komplikovaná záležitosť, ale nie je to nerealizovateľná záležitosť. Čiže všetko z toho, čo sa dá sa takýto projekt podporiť aj z lokálnych zdrojov, alebo teda zo zdrojov, ktoré má Slovenská republika. Dá sa takýto projekt stavať, má svoje nejaké úskalia, trvá to dlho, 2 roky trvala príprava, teraz sme v nejakej, nazvem to, realizačnej fáze už. V tomto momente sme tesne pred uzatvorením posledných zmluv na obidve časti, to znamená aj na fotovoltaiku, aj na elektrolyzer. A z toho druhého pohľadu rok trvá minimálne výstavba takýchto náležitostí. Čiže teraz ideme do tej časti výstavbovej, to sa začína teraz v tomto období, jednak objednávanie tovaru, spracovávanie a výstavba celej veci. Čiže možno takto o rok budeme vedieť povedať, čím sme si prešli, akým spôsobom sme si prešli. A pre nás je to jedna dôležitá vec, ktorá tu tak odnieva tak trošku okrajovo. Vodík je pre nás spôsob, ako v podstate spracovávať rôzne typy výkyvov, ktoré v tých sieťach existujú, ktoré sa tam nachádzajú. Súčasťou nášho projektu je určite aj Západoslovenská distribučná, s ktorou spolupracujeme, takisto, alebo teda ZSE ako jeden teda z tých hlavných partnerov, ktorý robí distribúciu v regióne. Aj Slovenská elektrická prenosová sústava, čiže my spolu s nimi spolupracujeme na tom, aby sme vedeli, čo to a aký to bude mať dlhodobý vplyv, pretože je to priestor, ako optimalizovať tú vašu dodávku elektriny. Takže to je to, kam my ideme a kde.
Ďakujem. Ak by ste, opäť opakujem, ak by niekto mal akúkoľvek otázku k tomu povedanému, nech sa páči.
Dobrý deň, Martinko Peter, Bratislavskej hromadnej regionálnej dopravy v Bratislave. Mám otázku na pána inžiniera Nemca Zarivy. Jak ste vy tu nám prezentovali vašu víziu použitia vodíkových autobusov, možno v Trnave, že na tým idete rozmýšľať. Mňa by to zaujímalo v súvislosti s tým vašim predĺženým 10-ročným kontraktom na prevádzkovanie mestskej dopravy a obnova vozového parku. Minulý rok ste zabezpečili nejakú dodávku nových autobusov, máte plánovanú novú. Chcem sa opýtať, tie vodíkové autobusy pre Trnavu, v akom reálnom časovom horizonte by ste videli, že do tých ešte 9 rokov, než vám vyprší kontrakt, či je reálna šanca, že budú nasadené v Trnave pre mestskú hromadnú dopravu, alebo aké kroky by ste pre to urobili, alebo je to iba vízia, ktorá by sa mohla naplniť po uplynutí tých 10 rokov. Toto by ma zaujímalo. Teda vodíkové autobusy konkrétne v Trnave, čo všetko by sa preto mohlo urobiť, aby tu naozaj reálne boli v prevádzke.
Takže my máme v pláne druhú etapu obmeny vozidiel v meste Trnava. Naplánovaná je na začiatok roka 27 alebo koniec roka 26. Čiže máme obdobie zhruba 3 rokov na to, aby sme sa rozhodli podľa využitia európskych zdrojov, aké vozidlá nové budú zaraďované. V zásade sa potrebujeme dostať na cenu nákladov dízlových autobusov, nielen v nákupe, ale aj v prevádzke. Takže teraz vám neviem povedať, aké autobusy budeme kupovať, ale budeme pozerať možnosť využitia jednak európskych zdrojov na nákup a samozrejme využitia stanice, ktorá tu vlastne takto zhruba o rok vznikne. Ja len doplňam, že my neuvažujeme len o mestskej doprave, pretože tu je uvedených 400 kilometrov, ale to je vlastne kilometr, ktoré ten autobus v meste na reálnej linke nabehal za 2 dní, ale podľa našich odhadov to vyzerá, že asi 350 kilometrov ten autobus prejde na jedno natankovanie pri tankovaní 350 barmi. Takže tieto autobusy sa dajú využiť aj v prímestskej doprave.
Ja by som možno nadviazal na túto otázku a položím otázku pánovi Petrovičovi z Meseru. Vy s vodíkom už pracujete dlhodobo, vodík nie je nič nové a vodík je v podstate pre vás štandardný technický plyn a vidíte, že čo sa dá a čo sa nedá s vodíkom robiť, že kde vy vidíte také najväčšie bariéry toho rozvoja a poprípade, že lebo stále tu počúvame o tých nákladoch, o peniazoch a že to je najväčší problém, aby sme to zafinancovali, lebo je to drahšie. Že či existujú aj nejaké iné, inovatívnejšie metódy rozvoja takejto vodíkovej dopravy, ktorú máte vy skúsenosti?
No, tak ten hlavný roadblock, ktorý vnímame, myslím si všetci, to je samozrejme legislatíva, ono to v pondelok zaznelo aj na tej tlačovej konferencii a pán štátny tajomník sa vyjadril veľmi pre mňa potešujúco, že teda aj ministerstvo vníma tento problém a chystá nejaké zmeny, pretože pri všetkých vodíkových projektoch na Slovensku, ktoré sme realizovali, bol najväčší problém so schvaľovacími procesmi. A to až do takej miery, že sa vyskytli úplne absurdné požiadavky napríklad zo strany hasičov, kde každý okresný hasič má vlastnú predstavu o tom, ako má byť ten projekt realizovaný. To znamená, neexistuje v podstate nejaký guideline, ktorý by aj im vysvetlil, že netreba stavať 8 metrov vysoký betónový barák bez strechy okolo zásobníka vodíkového, ktorý má navyše len 45 barový tlak. A takéto domy stoja po Slovensku okolo našich zásobníkov, len napriek tomu, že napríklad v susednom Rakúsku v sesterskej firmy, kde my dodávame vodík na Slovensku, stojí vodíkový zásobník vertikálny vedľa haly bez akékoľvek steny alebo čohokoľvek ďalšieho. To znamená, to je jednoznačne len otázka legislatívy. Čiže to je podľa mňa najväčší roadblock, to konec koncov Paolo to tu spomínal, že aj JES 2 roky komunikuje so štátnymi orgánmi o tom, že ako to vlastne urobiť, aby sa to podarilo všetko schváliť, čiže dostať stavebné povolenie a následne aj kolaudáciu. Čiže to je ten základný problém. No a čo sa týka tej druhej otázky, tam myslím, že kolega Time by som povedal veľmi jasne, že sú aj možnosti privátneho financovania, to znamená, nemusia to vždy byť eurofondy alebo akékoľvek európske financie, dotácie podobne. Je možné takýto projekt financovať aj zo súkromných zdrojov, tým princípom one-stop shop, to znamená od elektrolízy až po autobusy a ich prevádzku, kde v podstate potom nie je dôležité, aká je cena vodíka, pretože toho prevádzkovateľa na konci môže zaujímať, alebo zaujíma tá cena za ten odjazdený kilometr. Čiže to je napríklad to, čo spomínal pán Hajk, že aj u tej nákladnej dopravy, ale to isté predpokladám existuje pri tej autobusovej doprave, že pokiaľ ten prevádzkovateľ má rovnaké náklady na prevádzku vodíkového autobusu na kilometr, ako má na naftový, tak myslím si, že tam už potom je to jedno, pretože to financovanie potom je nezávislé od neho. My takéto projekty financujeme povedzme pri výrobe technických plynov, či sú to menšie veci ako generátory technických plynov, alebo väčšie, kde je to kompletná delička povedzme pre oceliareň, kde sa vyrába proste vo veľkom kyslík dusík na mieste, argón, a v podstate ten zákazník platí za kubík odobraného plynu. Čiže tu by to bolo možno za kilometr odjazdený, keďže sú v tom aj tie autobusy. To je celý rozdiel.
Ja možno dám takú úsmevnú príhodu, ktorá sa stala Romanovi Sporinovi ako nášmu generálnemu riaditeľovi, keď vysvetľoval povolovací proces v rámci toho PEM elektrolyzéra, kde ide o jednoduchý rozklad vody. Štandardnú pitnú alebo teda demineralizovanú vodu rozkladáte a pýtali sa na negatívne vplyvy v rámci EA procesu a všetkých týchto náležitostí a furt sa nevedel nájsť žiaden negatívny vplyv tohoto celého výrobného procesu. Mimochodom, v rámci toho celého je to výroba vodíka nebezpečného tovaru a tak ďalej, dnes v zákone definovaného, tak už nevedel, čo si má vymyslieť, tak povedal, že v prípade, že by tam bol strom a cez deň tam vyrábame ako keby ten vodík, tak vedľajším produktom je kyslík a keby tam bol ten strom, tak ho trávime, pretože prirodzeným skutočnosťou je toto, tak tí dotyční ľudia na tom úrade si to začali zapisovať, že toto je naozaj tá situácia. Takže aby ste vedeli, že akým spôsobom legislatívnym musíte prechádzať v tomto celom procese. A to je vlastne to, s čím sa ako keby v takýchto projektoch bortíte. Že sa bortíte niekedy až s absurdnými situáciami, pretože naozaj ten kyslík ten strom nejakým si spôsobom neovplyvní, ale mali sme aj protiargument, že v noci ten kyslík potrebuje ten strom, takže v noci bez problémov môžeme zásobovať ten strom, takže nevedeli toto dobrým spôsobom posúdiť, čiže to je niečo ako na demonštráciu toho, akým spôsobom v podstate prechádzate s tým povoľovacím procesom. Tá legislatíva je naozaj veľmi komplikovaná a možno o rok vám poviem, že tým všetkým sme si prešli.
Ja len možno ešte doplním, že jeden z tých problémov, ktorý to spôsobuje, je to, že napríklad vodík na Slovensku stále ešte nie je zaregistrovaný ako palivo. To znamená, že každá výroba vodíka na Slovensku je vlastne chemická fabrika. Je to chemická výroba, čo je ako z povahy veci úplný nezmysel, ale tým pádom proste naozaj tam presne sú také veci ako že veľká E a podobné hlúposti, kde v zásade by sa malo a priori vnímať to, že teda ide o výrobu z vody, vedľajší produkt jediný je kyslík, v ideálnom prípade sa dá niekde využiť, to je druhá vec, ale to je všetko. To znamená, že toto je ten problém, na ktorý náražajú všetci, kto to chce v podstate robiť.
Ja len možno dodám, že za Národnú vodíkovú asociáciu to je jedným z cieľom alebo úlohou našej asociácie je práve prispôsobovať tie technické normy, legislatívu tak, aby vôbec ten vodíkový sektor sa mohol rozvíjať. Ide to pomaly, ide to ťažko, ale ide to. Veríme, že keď pominie táto energetická kríza, tak tie úrady sa začnú venovať aj rozvojovým veciam, nie len teda haseniu nejakých požiarov. Ale ja by som možno nadviazal, Pálo, na teba, že z vášho pohľadu alebo z pohľadu JESu, čo by priniesli vodíkové autobusy pre rozvoj vodíkového reťazca tuto v regióne? Bol by to taký boost pre väčšiu možnosť väčšej výroby, lepšieho nejakého rozvoja regiónu? Alebo teda, sú tie autobusy vôbec dôležité?
Určite sú. V podstate ja vidím, ako môj osobný názor, ja vidím veľký priestor pre vodík v dvoch inštaláciách. V priemysle, pretože vodík je univerzálne činidlo, chémii, kde sa dá využiť extrémnym spôsobom a nebudem to tu rozoberať, pretože Anvas má o tomto veľmi veľa rôznych článkov napísaných, ale tam je, že, a to myslím si, že by ma aj Ďuro Petrovič podporil v tom, tam je obrovské využitie toho vodíka v rôznych ako keby dimenziách. Mimochodom, tuto v Leopoldove sú páni z Enviralu, ktorí sa zaoberajú vodíkom ako takým na využití na priemyselné účely a vytváraním rôznych jeho zlúčenín. Čiže to je ako keby jeden z týchto oblastí, ale keď sa rozprávame o doprave, je to ťažká doprava. To znamená primárne kamióny, tak ako to tu Peter Hajk spomínal, hlavne na tie dlhšie vzdialenosti. To je obrovský priestor. A druhým pre mňa dôležitým faktorom sú teda autobusy, tie coachers, jak tu boli povedané, alebo teda diaľková preprava a prímestská preprava. Tam to dáva naozaj zmysel. Ja osobne som si prešiel nejakými inštaláciami v oblasti autobusov, alebo teda bol som si ich pozrieť vo svete. Odporúčam to každému, choďte sa pozrieť do tých krajín, uvidíte úplne trošku iný pohľad na to. A veľmi to pomáha. A dôležitá vec je tu taká pachuť, ja to poviem, a pre nás ako energetikov my jej nerozumieme, lebo na konci dňa stále je to elektrina, ktorá je tam dodávaná do tých autobusov. Je baterkové vozidlo a je vodíkové vozidlo. Naskôr to hovorím, že je to baterkové, lebo stále je to elektromobil. Ten elektromobil je počítač na koletách. To, čo s ním viete urobiť, je významne zaujímavejšie. Určite áno, budem súhlasiť už dnes, v normálnych, štandardných, fosílnych autobusoch sa nachádza veľmi veľa prístrojov, ale je to úplne niečo iné, keď máte dohľadové centrum s 5-6 ľuďmi, ktorí dokážu presne vám povedať, kde sa autobus nachádza, čo robí, akým spôsobom funguje. A to je jedno, že či to je autobus, kamión, auto, akákoľvek dodávka, čokoľvek iného. A to je to, čo som ja v živote videl, ako keby, alebo po svojej mal ako skúsenosť možnosť vidieť v zahraničí, kde naozaj vedia zastaviť autobus, elektrický, teda baterkový, nabiť ho v nejakom procese, alebo zastaviť vodíkový autobus, počkať na nejaký iný elektrický autobus, úplne meniť tú štruktúru toho, ako sú robené tie grafikony a veci okolo toho. Čiže úplne iný pohľad na to.
Ešte treba doplniť, že okrem baterkových a vodíkových autobusov klasických, to znamená vodík, ktorý poháňa tú baterku, tak existuje jedna aplikácia, ktorá je pre nás ako pre kraj veľmi významná, a to je to, že už sú vyvinuté technológie na klasický spaľovací motor. Spaľovaním vodíka v klasickom motore existuje už aj kalkulácia, reálne sa to deje. Tá prerábka stojí plus minus 50 000 eur. Je to výzva pre nás, pre náš kraj, pre automotív, či by sa niekto odhodlal, či by sa niekto našiel, že by sme aj na Slovensku vedeli prerábať klasický dieselový motor na motor, ktorý spaľuje nie naftu, ale vodík. Máme nepriame strekovanie vodíka do komory, takže to je ďalšia aplikácia okrem toho, čo sa tu spomína.
Ja ešte si dovolím ako keby povedať, keď sa pozriete trošku ďalej, Európska únia má obrovské ciele na leteckú dopravu, na vodnú dopravu. To sú naozaj že významné náležitosti. A tam vodík bude hrať zásadnú rolu. Existuje čpavok, ktorý sa z vodíka dá urobiť zelený, a existuje metanol, ktorý sa dá z vodíka urobiť zase zelený. Je to o primiešavaní k vodíku CO2, o primiešavaniu dusíku k tomu vodíku a v podstate máte k dispozícii zase alternatívne zdroje, ktorými viete ako keby nejakým spôsobom fungovať. Buď sú neutrálne, alebo sú dokonca negatívne, majú to CO2 dokonca negatívnej podobe. Čiže závisí naozaj o to, ako sa to aplikuje a je to o tom, čo tu bolo x-krát povedané, ten supply chain, alebo teda ten celý dodávateľský reťazec sa musí postavať. To znamená, musíte mať viacero spoločností, ktoré sa do toho pustia a hľadajú to partnerstvo.
Ďakujem. Nejaká otázka z pléna? Nech sa páči.
Dobrý deň, ja by som sa chcel spýtať pána Nemca. Vy ste spomínali, že okrem tých kapitálových alebo vyšších vstupných nákladov pri vodíkových autobusoch sú vyššie aj prevádzkové náklady. Predpokladám, že tie by sa museli premietnúť aj do vlastne príspevkov alebo teda zo strany mesta. A teda moja otázka je, že okoľko je drahšia tá prevádzka a že ako sa na to pozerá mesto, kraj alebo tie štátne inštitúcie. Ďakujem.
Ako sa na to pozerá mesto alebo kraj, samosprávne inštitúcie, neviem povedať, to sa musíte skôr ich spýtať. Ja som povedal, že ten pomer je 60:40. Teraz sme počuli o ešte vyššej cene vodíka, ako sme to my v rámci štandardných podmienok kalkulovali, čiže my sme kalkulovali tých 10 eur zhruba na kilogram. To znamená, že tie prevádzkové náklady, ktoré sú vyššie vďaka vyššej cene pohonných môd, sú zhruba o 60% vyššie ako asi tak. Preto sú pre nás zaujímavé a Európa robí tieto projekty, takže nielen financuje nákup vozidiel, alebo spolufinancuje nákup vozidiel, lebo to je len jedna časť, ktorá nestačí, ale financuje aj tieto prevádzkové náklady, čiže OPEX. Pre nás je zaujímavé, aby tie projekty, lebo tie projekty trvajú 2 až 5 rokov, aby boli minimálne 5 ročné v rámci OPEXu.
Doplňujúca otázka, a možno ste to povedali, že to potvrdiť, to znamená, že ten príspevok aj na ten OPEX je 5 rokov? Alebo v rámci týchto projektov, ktoré sa tu diskutujú?
V rámci týchto projektov, to, čo sme videli zatiaľ, to, čo v rámci Únie sme sa dostali, sú 2 až 5 rokov.
Ja len dodám, je takým pokračovateľom víziev Jive 1, Jive 2, ktoré boli z Európskej komisie financované. To je tých 300 autobusov, ktoré tu prezentovali speakery na začiatku. A v rámci týchto projektov bola financované nákup autobusov, vybudovanie infraštruktúry a prevádzka autobusov po dobu 10 rokov. Takže Európska komisia cez tie svoje nástroje financovala rozdiel medzi štandardnou cenou autobusu v tom čase a štandardnými prevádzkovými nákladmi. Toto pravdepodobne nebude sa opakovať pravidelne, ale vždy ten princíp je rovnaký, že ak je to teda dotácia do verejnej dopravy, tak to nie je len na CAPEXy, alebo teda na obstaranie, ale aj na OPEXy. A potom už len na tie prevádzkové náklady. A potom už je len teda otázka, že na akú dlhú dobu, ale väčšinou sa dáva na čo najdlhšiu dobu, aby ten rozdiel sa proste eliminoval. Na druhej strane treba povedať, že ten rozdiel sa stále zmenšuje. Takže čím bude menší, tak tým samozrejme aj tá podpora z Európskej komisie bude menšia. Ale ja sa teraz aj trošku vrátim k tej cene toho vodíka.
My cenu vodíka teraz chápeme hlavne na základe ceny zemného plynu, alebo respektíve 99% vodíka sa na svete vyrába zo zemného plynu alebo z fosílnych palív, kdežto cieľom aj všetkých týchto iniciatív je, aby sa maximálne možné množstvo vyrábalo z obnoviteľných zdrojov energie. A pri obnoviteľných zdrojoch energie vy máte jednu veľkú výhodu, že nemáte dodávateľa tej vstupnej suroviny, je ním príroda, a nemusíte za ňu platiť. A vy v princípe na začiatku toho projektu, kedy ho postavíte, presne viete, aké budú vaše prevádzkové náklady alebo celkové náklady, total cost of ownership. A preto viete veľmi pekne nastaviť aj celý biznis plán výroby vodíka, jeho ceny a prevádzky. To len na doplnenie teda k informáciám, ktoré boli povedané. Nejaká otázka? Nech sa páči.
Bolo spomínané, že výroba vodíka sa berie ako výroba nejakého chemickej látky. Že k tomu prislúcha vlastne aj tie všetky obštrukcie, čo sú s tým spojené. Chcem sa opýtať, či mi neviete povedať, či je nejak kapacitne, keď je povedzme nejaký menší elektrolyzer, alebo do akej kapacity sa to dá brať, ako, že to už nebude nejaká chemická výroba.
No, zatiaľ je to tak, že je jedno, aký je veľký, pretože neexistuje iná kvalifikácia toho produktu. To je jednoducho vodík je braný ako technický plyn. Výroba technických plynov je chemická výroba bez ohľadu na veľkosť. To znamená, existujú aj dnes aj malé párne reformingy na výrobu, 2, 3, 4 kg za hodinu. Aj takúto výrobu musíte prebehnúť proste procesom schvaľovania chemickej výroby. Čiže zatiaľ je to bohužiaľ o tom, že bez ohľadu na veľkosť to platí.
Až na jednu výnimku, a to je, keď si nejaká univerzita rozhodne vyrábať vodík, hej, ako, alebo niečo potom.
No dobre, research, alebo áno, takéto
R&D,
veci.
alebo teda výskum.
Tam je to
trošku jemnejšie vnímané, ale akýkoľvek gram vodíka idete do veľmi komplikovaného procesu.
Ak nie je ďalšia otázka, tak ja položím poslednú otázku a možno poprosím vás veľmi krátko odpovedať, teda krátkosti, ako sa len dá, že akú podporu zo strany štátu, regiónu, miestnych samospráv, po prípade EÚ, by potreboval rozvoj verejnej vodíkovej dopravy. Čo z vášho pohľadu, a teraz to je otázka pre všetkých našich speakerov, čo z vášho pohľadu je takéto najdôležitejšie, aby sme mali nejaký highlight tejto diskusie, že čo by sme mohli my ako experti odovzdať taký message, či už v regionálnej vláde alebo ministerstvám, čo zmeniť. Tak môžeme ísť odľava, keď ste sa už...
Odhodlal som sa. My cítime podporu aj zo strany mesta, aj zo strany kraja v využívaní ekologických technológií. Myslím, že kraj aj uzavrel memorandum o spolupráci práve na využívanie tejto čerpacej stanice, čo je tiež prejav veľkej podpory a záujmu kraja o tieto technológie. A my ako dopravcovia sme slúbili, že budeme sledovať a zapojíme sa do všetkých projektov, či už na národnej úrovni, alebo európskej úrovni, na to, aby sme takéto vozidlá mohli v tomto trnavskom regióne prevádzkovať. Čiže výzva je skôr, aby sa takéto projekty, či už na národnej úrovni, alebo európskej úrovni objavovali. Na národnej som nezaregistroval, na európskej.
Ja odpoviem za seba, nebáť sa. A rozšírim tú otázku nielen do tej oblasti, že či len do verejnej dopravy, ale naozaj sa nebáť. Ísť do toho, to znamená nájsť tie peniaze na jeden autobus, 2, 3, podľa toho, koľko vám vyjde v tej excelovskej tabulke. Lebo aj my ideme do 1 MW elektrolyzéra a do nejakej čerpacej stanici v spolupráci s M-Parkom nie z toho dôvodu, že to je ten finálny cieľ. To rozhodne není finálny cieľ, tým natankujete 5 až 10 autobusov. To není ten finálny cieľ pre Trnavu, ale je to proste o testovaní. Proste ísť do nejakej časti, nebáť sa, rozbehnúť to. A to platí pre čokoľvek iného. Myers stáva na metanole postavený alebo na špavku postavený flotily. Ide robiť nižšie ceny. My keď sa tam ako Európa, alebo teda ako krajina Európy nezúčastníme, zmeškali sme svoj vlak. takýchto príkladov Alstom hľadá spôsoby, ako v podstate začne robiť veľké tie liney, alebo tie línie tých vlakov potom po tých jednotlivých častiach. Sú tu spoločnosti, ktoré robia zelenú oceľ, sú tu spoločnosti, ktoré robia zelený betón. Tiež to ide cez vodík. To proste z toho sa potrebujeme ako Slovensko začať zúčastňovať. To je pre mňa tá najdôležitejšia vec. My sa nezúčastňujeme, či už vo vede, výskume, v priemysle, v zmene legislatívy, v čomkoľvek takýchto aktivít. Stále čakáme, aby to niekto na nás vymyslel. Prestaňme byť followery, alebo teda nasledovatelia, začneme byť tí, ktorí sa budú naozaj toho zúčastňovať.
Ďakujem.
Pálo, ty si to povedal úplne super, pretože naozaj my cítime obrovskú podporu, pretože spolu vybavujeme povolenia a cítime podporu napríklad od stavebného úradu. Túto konferenciu otváral pán Marcel Krajč, čo je viceprimátor Trnavy, a aj jeho predchodca, pán Tibor Pekarčík, aj Peter Bročka, primátor, prejavili obrovský záujem o túto problematiku. Informácie sú prvý blok. Prvý blok, že sme zablokovaní, že sa bojíme odhodlať do niečoho, pretože ten problém nepoznáme. A ak si toto uvedomíme, že nechceme byť bielou mapou alebo bielou škvrnou na európskej mape, tak aké to je napríklad pri karavánových státeach, ja to poviem tak, pretože robíme s karavánmi. Na Slovensku sú 5 legálnych šelplacov pre karavany. My sme bielou mapou, karavanisti nás obchádzajú. A v tomto istom duchu my nemáme jednu čerpaciu stanicu na vodík, okrem teda čerpacej stanice vďaka Slovnaftu a Meseru, ktorá je v Bratislave. A keď niekto, predstavte, chce ísť do Košíc na Toyota Mirai a chce si natankovať, tak není šanca. Musí si natankovať v Bratislave, v Slovnafte. Neverím, že to je v tých európskych mapách flotilových kariet, pretože je to šedý vodík. Ak by sa to tam objavilo, tak sú tam hned hejty, že prečo sa predáva šedý vodík a deklarujeme tú zelenú politiku. Takže naozaj je to len o tom, aby sme si uvedomili, že my sme neni sami. My patríme do Európy, do jednotnej európskej politiky. A tá bezemisná politika, ktorá tu sa otvorila pred niekoľkými rokmi, tak to není beh na krátke trate. To je beh na dlhé trate. Ak si uvedomíme, že chceme byť toho súčasťou, rozhodneme sa, tak musí sa tu makať. A preto vyzdvuhujem ešte raz asociáciu vodíkovú, lebo chalani makali 4 roky. Po 4 rokoch teda za spolupráce aj teda potenciálnych odberateľov, potenciálnych teda dodávateľov zeleného vodíka, čo je JES, jadrová spoločnosť, to je zase podpora, obrovská podpora štátu. Za podpory Peťa Blaškoviča, ktorý tiež bol pred chvíľou, to je Sulíková práva ruka, že otvorili tú vodíkovú stratégiu na Slovensku za pomoci partnera Meser. Ďaleko za spektrum vidíme ešte ZSD, čo je veľmi dôležitý partner, pretože ZSD vlastní siete na Slovensku. Ak by nebol strategický partner ZSD, ktorý chápe problematiku vodíka, tak zase by sme tu nesedeli. Ale ZSD to veľmi dobre chápe, majú projekt Drive, elektrických nabíjačiek a takisto veľmi aktívne počúvajú, že by sa mal vytvoriť biznis model nie len pre malého šoféra na elektrickom vozidle, ale aj firmy. Takže sa vytvára napríklad teraz model v ZSD pre biznis nabíjanie veľké elektrické nabíjačky, rýchlo nabíjačky pre nákladné vozidla. Ten model tu dneska neexistuje. Takže musí ho niekto vytvoriť. A niekto, ako Pálo povedal, to sú není fiktívni ľudia, že nám to niekto diktuje. To musíme byť my. My chceme predávať palivo. Nám sa kráti čas a my jednoducho na palive, na dízli nebudeme zarábať. Prídu iní medzinárodní hráči, prídu veľké firmy, a slovenské firmy zase sa len budeme pozerať a sťažovať, že niekto nám predáva zahraničná firma zelený vodík tu na našom území. My chceme byť, Slováci si musíme vybudovať infraštruktúru pre naše slovenské alebo medzinárodné firmy, aby sme teda neboli v úzadí, pretože my chceme zarábať, my tu chceme prežiť. Takže není to len o tom, že by sme chceli, ale musíme, pretože neprežijeme. Takže tá stratégia je jednoznačná. Ak nechceme byť pokutovaní a nechceme platiť obrovské emisné kvóty, čo behom niekoľkých rokov príde, tak budeme to musieť urobiť. A vďaka úradom sú tu veľmi šikovní ľudia v Trnave, od primátora až cez poslancov, cez úradníkov, ktorí schvaľujú, tak musíme vyjadriť, že je tu obrovská podpora. Samozrejme od hráčov, ako je NVS, Meseta Drgas, očakávame, že reštrikcie, ktoré sú tu pre vodík, ako sa povedalo, chemická výroba. Čo to je chemická výroba? Takže musí sa to odčleniť. Ďalšou reštrikciou je, že nevieme dneska umiestniť výdajný stojan na vodík na ten istý ostrov, na čerpacej stanice, ako je nafta. Ale je to nerozum, pretože si predstavte, že kamión príde a všetky čerpačky na Slovensku budú pristavovať. Dokedy sa majú rozširovať? Keď je to technicky možné a je to dostatočne bezpečné, tak na tom istom ostrove, ako sa tankuje nafta, sa musí tankovať aj vodík. Aby sa to dostalo do praxe, reštrikcie musia ísť bokom. Ale tam naozaj veľká vďaka, chalani z NVS-ky makajú, takže treba len pracovať a tej podpory my sme dostali dostatočne. Takisto sme videli, že môžeme využívať tú finančnú podporu alebo dotačnú podporu. Dokonca ten pán Bart, ktorý je šéf fondov, tak jeho asistentka je zo Slovenska. Je z Prešova. Tá sa sama ponúkla. Budeme vám pomáhať pri realizácii projektov. Takže chce to len sa rozhodnúť, urobiť tú stratégiu a musíme byť, nehovorím, že lídri asi ťažko v Európe budeme, ale na našom území chceme my predávať naše palivo. A chceme na ňom zarobiť, aby sme neboli 5. kolo úvoza. Takže ďakujem pekne.
Ďakujem.
Ja na mnohých zhromaždeniach mám tu milú povinnosť byť posledný rečník, čo není úplne najlepšie. Ale asi naozaj, to, čo hovoril Paolo, zarezonovalo aj u mňa asi, a to som aj chcel povedať, že primárne treba sa do toho pustiť. Ono niekedy je to ťažké, zo začiatku to môže byť naozaj problematické a možno z tohto miesta by som vyzval aj tých, ktorí tu možno nie sú, ale tie ostatné samosprávy, lebo keď počúvam, ako sa Trnava k tomu postavila, myslím si, že podobne sú na tom napríklad Košice, aby sme nehovorili, že teda nikto iný nemá záujem. To znamená, že je viacero tých samospráv a pevne verím, že budú ďalšie, ktoré proste nejakým spôsobom napriek všetkým problémom, ktoré sa na ne valia, či už sú to rozpočtové problémy, či sú to náklady a tak ďalej, sa pokúsia v tomto smere niečo začať robiť. My sme tu, sme pripravení s tým pomôcť, sme pripravení pomôcť aj tým spôsobom, aby práve tá nákladová stránka veci nebola v podstate nejaký deal breaker alebo nejaké proste koniec nejakého projektu len preto, lebo si to nejaká samospráva nevie dovoliť. Čiže netreba sa bať financií, financie sa vždy nejakým spôsobom, ako sme tu dnes do obeda počuli opakovane, sa vedia nájsť, tie financie sú, je potrebné nájsť tú schému a ten model, cez ktorý sa tie peniaze sem dokážu dostať. Tých modelov je niekoľko, či už sú to verejné zdroje, či už sú to súkromné zdroje. Treba sa do toho jednoducho pustiť a začať na tom pracovať. A my sme tu a sme pripravení s tým pomôcť.
A ďakujem, tak nakoniec posledné slovo budem mať ja. aby ste neboli tí poslední. A za nás, za Národnú vodíkovú asociáciu, v prvom rade chcem veľmi poďakovať všetkým, ktorí sa zúčastnili tohto workshopu. Takéto workshopy my budeme organizovať aj naďalej. Snažíme sa ich tak nejak rozdeľovať po celom Slovensku, aby sme obslúžili čo najviac a čo najviac tých ľudí, ktorých sa to týka. Okrem toho chceme pripraviť aj veľkú konferenciu, na ktorej by sme už chceli prezentovať aj nejaké konkrétne závery a možno konkrétne projekty. A cieľom aj Národnej vodíkovej asociácie je presne to, čo sme dneska videli. Prinášať tie informácie zo zahraničia, kde tá vodíková ekonomika je oveľa rozvinutejšia a kde už funguje. A kde, keď ste videli tú mapu, myslím, že na jednom z prvých slajdov to bolo od Barta, kde ako keby ste rozdelili Európu na dve polky. Jedna bola západná a druhá bola východná, ako svojho času železná opona. A toto sa snažíme zmeniť. Takže v prípade, ak máte akékoľvek záujmy vo vodíku a akékoľvek nápady, návrhy, čokoľvek robiť, my sme otvorení. NVAS je otvorená organizácia pre každého a budeme radi, keď vám môžeme akokoľvek pomôcť. Ak nie sú ďalšie otázky, ale teda ešte sa opýtam, či je nejaká otázka od niekoho. Ak nie sú, tak ja by som teda ukončil tento workshop. Momentálne je pre nás pripravený taký bufet, takže to je trochu taká milá povinnosť vám oznámiť, že bufet na nás čaká. Stále je možnosť ešte sa aj povoziť na vodíkovom autobuse. ak by mal niekto záujem a ešte nemal tú možnosť, určite to využite, lebo nevieme, kedy najbližšie k nám príde. My teda veríme, že veľmi skoro, ale garantovať to nevieme. A chcel by som teda veľmi pekne poďakovať ešte raz všetkým speakerom, pánovi Nemcovi, pánovi Plevovi, pánovi Hajkovi aj pánovi Petrovičovi, pardon. Ja vás vždy volám Juraj, tak preto mi to vypadlo. A takisto aj vám všetkým, ktorí ste sa tu mohli dneska zúčastniť. Ďakujem pekne.